All right, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. It seems crazy to be saying that when we're just a couple of days away from February, but this is the first time we've had a chance to meet since our last quarterly meeting in October of 2024. I want to welcome everyone. My name is Patrick DeRay, Chief of the Bureau of Automotive Repair, to our first quarterly meeting of the Bureau of Automotive Repair's advisory group. This is the first of 4 meetings that will take place this year, and we want to say welcome back, everyone, to the Department of Consumer Affairs headquarters. We're in the what is known as HQ2 hearing room or conference room, and it's been some time since we've been back here due to some work, some construction that was being done. I think there was some water damage or some other type of damage as a result of the weather some time ago, and it's been we were displaced for a number of meetings at an alternate facility known as the Evergreen building, also a property of the Department of Consumer Affairs. So it's nice to be back here on the main campus, so to speak, at HQ2. Then I want to do a few introductions before we get started. We have bar advisory group members who are attending both in person as well as via the WebEx, and we'll do some introductions of them shortly. Before we do, I want to say that this meeting is, as I've already indicated, an in-person and virtual experience. For those who can't make it in person, they can attend through our WebEx. And for those who couldn't or can't be here in person or via the WebEx live today, can always get a recording of the meeting, usually within a week of the meeting date, because it's being webcast right now and recorded. So that's good news for those who have other commitments today. We have a couple of introductions here. First of all, our webcaster is Bryce Penny. Where's Bryce? Bryce is back there. Bryce from the Department of Consumer Affairs, thank you. Our WebEx moderators, Ann Fisher is our primary moderator. You'll see Ann's picture on the screen there, and she's the one that will interface between myself as the facilitator of today's meeting and the speakers when it's time for public comment. And then co-moderator Zach Richardson, who's our assistant in the executive office at the Department of Consumer Affairs. Let's do introductions of the bar advisory group members. We'll start on this end with Matthew, and not just your name, but your organization.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. My name is Matt Webb. I'm with the Preventative Automotive Maintenance Association.
Hi, Jack Muladanoff on behalf of the California Auto Body Association.
Anthony Bento on behalf of the California New Car Dealers Association.
Hao Nguyen on behalf of the California Automotive Business Coalition.
Good morning. I'm Dave Kusa, Automotive Service Councils of California.
Morning, Ryan Perini on behalf of the California Automotive Wholesalers Association.
We're really crowded on one side here. If anyone wants to spread out, we've got some.
Leaning this way.
I feel like the table's about to tilt here up here. Let's go to our advisory group members who are attending via the WebEx. Moderator, could you ask for introductions of advisory group members there?
Certainly. We have Ruben Parra, and we were trying to fix some mic issues. Ruben, if you'd like to hit your unmute.
Hi, this is Ruben Parra. Hopefully you can hear me now. I'm having some technical issues, so limited video
today. If you could speak a little louder, but we can hear you.
Again, this is Ruben Parra, and having some technical issues, so no video today, but I am here.
And Ruben is with the California Automotive Teachers.
Yes, California Automotive Teachers. Thank you.
And our other member is Dean Schlingman. And Dean, you have the right to unmute. There you go.
Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person for my first meeting as an advisory group member, but my name is Dean Schlingman on behalf of the Specialty Equipment Market Association.
Yes, thank you, Dean. It's good to see you and have SEMA represented on the advisory group. And it was also good seeing you, what was it, just last week at the Society of Repair Specialist meeting, where we were able to talk about a few issues that were of interest to the organization. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And I hear that, is Tim Chang there? Tim was sitting in for Megan McKernan via WebEx, representing the Automobile Club of Southern California, but I'm not sure he's joined us yet.
I
Okay.
don't see him in the list.
And then we may get some late attendance from a couple of others who are right now not in attendance. So we'll be on the lookout for them and introduce them as they might show up. A couple more introductions before we get started. Want to introduce the deputy chiefs of the Bureau of Automotive Repair. Clay Leak, want to introduce yourself and the division you represent. And Bill Thomas. Good. And then Linda Jansen, you are attending remotely. She was unable to be with us in person today. Linda?
Good morning. I'm Linda Jansen. I'm with the Licensing, Administration, and Consumer Assistance Division.
Okay. All right. I think that's it for the introductions this morning. I did want to make an announcement that we do have a regulatory workshop open to the public and all interested parties that will follow this morning's meeting. That is a regulation workshop involving storage fees charged by automotive repair dealers. It's a regulation package that we've been working on ever since legislation was chaptered in 2023, AB 1263, and took effect on January 1, giving the Bureau authority to adopt regulations on this issue. This is will be our fourth workshop on this issue, and I'm hoping our last. We've heard from a number of stakeholders, both on the automotive repair industry, from the automotive repair industry, as well as the insurance industry, and even others who are paying close attention to our regulatory efforts. And we have what we think is a final or near final package that we'll be presenting and taking comments on today. From 2 to 4 p.m. that workshop will take place. All right, let's begin with today's meeting. Our first presentation, as always, is a legislation and regulations update. It's just Holly today, right, Holly? No, Kayla? Okay. Holly Helsing and Kayla Shelton are the Bureau's two regulations coordinators, working very closely with the Department of Consumer Affairs and their regulations team of attorneys and the budget team and so on and so forth. So here she is, Holly Helsing, to give us an update on pending legislation and regulations and some things that were, I guess, chaptered last year. Thank you.
All right. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Chief Pat. I am Holly Helsing, and I am going to review the legislation from last year, like Pat said, and our pending regulation packages. The next slide, please. Which will tell you that on January 1st of this year, the 2024 chapter bills took effect, and February 21st of this year is the last day for new bills to be introduced. We currently aren't tracking any bills that have been introduced yet. So if anyone has knowledge of bills that we don't aren't aware of yet, please let us know and we will begin tracking them. And as always, for most current information, is online at leginfo.legislature.ca.gov. On the next slide, 2 bills that we were tracking were chaptered. Was AB 1901, which dealt with total loss claims, and SB 1526, which was just a technical cleanup. And that is all for legislation today. If anyone has any comments or questions.
We'll open it up. Any legislation that has not hit our radar that you want to bring to our attention for future presentation and tracking at our next meeting? That would be great. Anything come to mind? No? Light on the automotive repair side, I guess, this year.
I guess the only thing I'd flag is there's a few spot bills that, could turn into something that we're, gathering information on right now. And so insofar as there's something that would be impactful to BAR, we'll make sure to flag or any industry players for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I think we can move ahead to the regulations portion of your update.
Okay. We have 4 pending regulation packages right now. The first one on the next slide is the tear down disclosure requirements for ARDs. And this one proposes to add and amend definitions relating to the disclosure requirements. It clarifies estimate work order requirements that require a vehicle tear down. It sets documentation requirements for ARDs when using an estimate that's prepared by or on behalf of a third-party payer. It requires any towing service fee to be provided to the customer on a separate invoice. And it requires ARDs to include payment amounts of third-party payers on the estimate prior to authorization of work. On the next slide, this package is currently, we're working on it with DCA Legal. There are some minor changes that will be noticed for an additional 15-day comment period on those changes only. But we don't yet have the dates of that comment period. But everyone will receive notice when that happens. The next package is the smog check readiness monitor limits. And this proposes to remove outdated subdivisions, and unless a vehicle has design-related issues, it prohibits it from passing an OBD2 inspection if the vehicle's OBD2 system reports not complete readiness status. This was out for the 45-day public comment period, which ended on December 24th. And once DCA Legal completes its review, we will submit the package to OAL for final approval and adoption. And we're hoping to do that in the next couple of weeks. The next one is the storage fees charged by ARDs. And as Pat said, we will be holding a 4th workshop this afternoon, which will go into much more detail. But in summary, this package brings together existing laws governing storage fees under one unified regulatory section, providing that the fees are reasonable, when fees may be charged, and where the vehicle may be stored. It makes clear that an ARD must provide an itemized estimate and invoice for storage and towing fees, and post the towing and storage fees access notice, as well as their daily storage fee rate. They'll be required to provide that rate annually to the Bureau when renewing their registration. And with that information, the Bureau is going to create a search tool on its website showing the average and median daily storage rates for a given locale. And that locale is defined as one of 4 geographic radiuses around each reporting ARD that's sufficient to determine those average and median rates. And we are still obviously working on this. We have our workshop this afternoon. Once we finalize the text on our end, then we'll work with DCA Legal and agency for review and final approval to begin the 45-day public comment period, which will be in addition to all the comments we have received and will further receive before that official comment period. The last package is the mobile and referral ARDs, which clarifies the definition of mobile automotive repair. It adds a geographical radius for when automotive repair is to be considered mobile in relation to where the repair is performed. And it adds that a person or entity is considered to be an ARD if they collect compensation for automotive repair services that are referred to or sublet to another person or entity to perform. This package is currently under review by DCA Legal, and once approved, then we will begin the 45-day comment period for this package. And again, everyone will receive notice of when that public comment period will be. That's all I have now for the regulations. Does anyone have questions?
Yes, we'll open it up for comments from advisory group members first, and then we'll open it up for public comment. Yes, Mr. Maladonoff.
Two questions. One, there was 3 packages.
Push the button, Jack.
I think the mic is off.
No, push the button.
Yeah.
There you go.
I thought there were 3 packages that were submitted, or at least the deadline was December the 16th. It was the tear down, it was the smog readiness monitor limits, and there was a 3rd package. I think it was more technical, but I don't see it on here. Did that go away?
No, that did not go away. That one's under review by OAL right now, and it's just technical cleanup.
Okay. I didn't see it here, so I didn't know if it went away. And the other question.
We'll add it so there's no confusion, but it is minor.
No, I didn't think it was
cleanup of our regular.
controversial. I just didn't see it here, and I thought, okay, something happened to it.
Yeah, oversight on our part. Thank you.
Well, the mobile referral, I know that was addressed in legislation. I think it was the Sunset Review Bill that addressed mobile, if I recall, wasn't it? And the mobile refer.
Yes, it was in the Sunset Review Bill, the AB 1263
Right,
that
and
I
I thought it
referenced
was
earlier.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty clear. The reason for doing a regulation on it, if it's already in statute, what's the reasoning behind that?
Well, it's clarifying the definition of what mobile automotive repair is, and in proximity to where the repair is performed compared to the physical location of a body shop. And then one of the main things too is that subletting or referring to someone else to do a repair, you're still going to be considered an automotive repair dealer, even if you're not doing the repair.
Right. I remember the issue is because you had third parties out there that were just basically referring business.
Right.
In other words, but they were right in the middle. My understanding is after the bill passed that they needed to be registered with BAR. That hasn't changed. You're just doing some additional clarifications on that, or?
Yeah, the statute was fairly broad in terms of defining what that meant.
Yeah.
And so the regulations are going to dive into some of the details of what the Bureau's expectations are for registering with us.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Other questions or comments regarding this presentation? None to my right. Fine. All right. Moderator, any comments from the advisory group members who are attending on the WebEx?
Good morning. This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment, you may look for the hand icon, which is typically at the bottom of your computer WebEx screen, or if you're on a mobile device, it may be behind the 3-dot other options button. But you can click that hand to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order received. Are there any comments on the presentation?
All right.
I do not see any, so you can close the public comment feature.
And I'll ask in the room, any public comment on this matter or on this topic, this presentation? Nope. Oh, you got off so easy today. It's easy when there's light on the legislation. Yeah, it's January. It always seems to be the case where it's the lightest load for the legislative and regulatory update. But good job. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So something we had done in the past and kind of got away from over the last few years, or maybe the last couple of years, is giving an update on updates at the Bureau of Automotive Repair. And in the spirit of transparency, wanting to make sure that we were sharing with all of our stakeholders accomplishments, things we were proud of that we had done, that we were wanting to make sure everybody at least was on notice that we had done, and maybe not, we're not aware if it wasn't specifically addressed here in an advisory group member. So we're doing that, as well as sharing plans for the current year and beyond, over at least the next 12 months. So you'll get a 2024 year in review and a 2025 year looking forward presentation from each of the division deputy chiefs. And our first one is going to be a remote one from Linda Jansen on the Licensing, Administration, and Consumer Assistance Division. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
So, my division was very, very active in 2024, but I was asked to kind of just hit the highlights. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do here. I'll start with the, okay, wait a minute. Here we go. I got the hang of it now. I'll start with licensing and records management branch. So as many of you know, we did successfully complete the ELM, also known as SimplyGov modernization project contract. We completed that in October, and we're transitioned into maintenance and operation, which we're in now, and it'll be ongoing. We also launched the Vehicle Safety Systems Inspection Program licenses and sunsetted the Brake and Lamp Program licenses. We implemented a restructure of our licensing program with the addition of another Staff Services Manager 1, Cole Gandelman. So we now have a manager over business licenses and a manager over inspector and technician licenses on our STAR team. So we kind of spread the wealth there in terms of workload. And that also helped us to maximize our modernization efforts. We did implement a new procedure in our records management branch for subpoena responses. So we now do not provide our reports. Instead, we offer up the most knowledgeable individual to testify on behalf of the consumer that's making the request. So we've been doing that for a couple of months now. It's going smoothly now. It was a bit of a bumpy transition, but it seems like the in-person testimony is working out really well on behalf of the consumers and the other parties that may be involved in a small claims court procedure. And then the administrative branch.
Linda, can I just jump in real quickly? I
Yes,
just want to mention
please.
at the top of your, the first bullet, the ELM SimplyGov modernization project. That's, just to clarify, that's online licensing application process that's fully implemented, and you'll be getting a demonstration of that new program or the project later on in the agenda today.
Yes,
Thank you.
we're quite proud of that, actually. Okay, administrative branch. You don't usually see what they do because they're behind the scenes there at BAR, but they did participate in several restructures and created a few new units. One you may be familiar with, the statewide inspection branch, also field support services, and they participated in the licensing restructure that I just talked about. And then our business services office has been busy with relocations and closures. We did close the South San Francisco field office, and we relocated Irvine to Santa Ana, and we relocated the San Diego office. Consumer Assistance Program. So the new regulation package was approved and adopted. It implemented January 1. And so far, the response is fairly positive. We have experienced an increase in applications as the incentives for repair assistance and vehicle retirement increased as part of that package. I have updated numbers here for repairs and retirements, 4,585 vehicles repaired in 2024, and 21,575 vehicles were retired. And we do, for the Cars for School program, we have over 100 vehicles currently assigned to schools statewide. And I would like to acknowledge the Automobile Club of Southern California. They have been assisting us with vehicle transportation to schools for the Cars for School program and then back to the dismantler when the school is done with the vehicle. So we have secured assistance with vehicle transportation in Southern California. Thank you very much, Mobile Club. And then the last program in my division is the Executive Affairs Unit, and they're always busy, but the highlights for them, they did release the storage fee guidance documents on our webpage. They updated our 2023-27 strategic plan, and we did host a delegation from Japan, which strengthened our international cooperation on vehicle inspection programs. And then our plans for 2025, licensing and records management branch, onboarding new staff. We're always, it seems like, in hiring mode. And then employing development efforts to support modernization as our maintenance and operation procedures continue in the SimplyGov enforcement and licensing modernization program arena. And then we achieved an application processing time of less than 1 week, and our goal for 2025 is to maintain that. I think that's doable with what we've seen so far. The administration branch, our personnel office, is going to refresh and deliver 2 trainings for bar staff and managers. So the staff training is information on furthering their state career. And then for managers, they're going to dust off and give an updated version of the best personnel practices. They're also going to participate in additional restructuring of programs and units as requested by executive management. They will participate in relocation effort discussions at this point for Culver City Field Office and Paramount Roadside location. We've actually been in a relocation site search for Paramount for a while now. And then they will participate in discussions regarding the reduction of space at the South El Monte field office. Consumer Assistance Program goals for 2025 is to award and implement the new dismantler contracts. The current contracts expire June 30th of this year. Implement some new business process improvements, such as upgrading correspondence from what we refer to as snail mail to migrate that to email. Continue to conduct outreach to improve participation in the repair assistance program. So we are visiting STAR stations that are not currently participating in the repair assistance program to try to get them to join that effort. And then we will continue to attempt to obtain no or low cost transportation for Northern California for the Cars for Schools program. And then the Executive Affairs Unit, they are constantly working on restructuring website information. In this case, we want to make it a little easier for licensees and license applicants. So they're currently working on that. Promoting automotive repair education and training opportunities. And they are participating in the development of a strategic outreach plan. And those are our projects and initiatives for 2025.
Any questions or comments for Linda from the advisory group? Yes, Anthony.
Yeah, thank you, Linda. So Anthony Ponto from the California New Car Dealers. We work with the Air Resources Board in promoting the Clean Cars for All programs that encourage customers to transition to zero emission vehicles that are qualifying low income customers in priority locations transition to zero emission vehicles. Part of that program involves the retirement of an older polluting vehicle. And I'm wondering, is the consumer assistance a program and the work that you're doing, is there any coordination with the Clean Cars for All programs? Like if you get a customer that's interested, are they potentially informed about the availability of these programs? Because the incentive monies available through some of these programs could be substantial, and it could be a useful thing to just alert potential applicants to.
Yes, we actually do that. And I know that program is not available in all jurisdictions, but our call center staff are aware of the program. And we do coordinate with CARB, the Air Resources Board. So we're not working in a silo. We are working hand in hand with them, and we meet with them on a regular basis.
Great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
It's fantastic to hear.
Yeah, it's Jack.
Thank you, Linda, for the presentation. I just had a quick question on your projects and initiatives for 2025 under Executive Affairs Unit. You mentioned promoting automotive repair education and training opportunities. Can you expand on that?
Actually, that's something that Tessa Miller has been working on. I would have to defer to her. I think she's in the audience. I'm not to put her on the spot, but I believe that.
You want to come forward?
Sorry, Tessa.
She's hiding out in the back row, but I found her.
That effort is a response to the sunset review process where we were asked about what we're doing to help with barriers to licensure. So we're looking to help promote those opportunities. Sorry if I'm not in the mic.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, as things develop on that front, we'll certainly do a presentation to the advisory group. Other comments or questions for Linda? Any moderator, can you separate the advisory group members out first? Is that possible for any questions or comments on this topic?
Certainly.
Okay.
Yes, we do have Tim Chang who has logged in. I believe that was Megan McKernan's alternate.
Yes, Tim is with the Automobile Club of Southern California. Welcome, Tim. Thank you for sitting in for Megan today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Sorry for being late.
No problem. Any questions or comments from advisory group members who are attending on the WebEx? Do you see any hands, moderator?
I do not.
Okay. Well, I'm going to open it up for public comment first here in the room, and then we'll go to the WebEx as well. Any public comment in the room here? Mr. Lopez, would you kindly come to the table here, introduce yourself and who you are representing?
Hi, thank you. I'm Gene Lopez with Seidner's Collision Center, and also I was reminded that I am the chairman of education for the California Auto Body Association.
Ah,
and so, congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And so Cars for Schools, Linda, and thank you for your presentation. Linda, Cars for Schools, and I apologize for not being more familiar with this program, but to learn that there are some 100 cars sent out to schools. Where do we go to find who these schools are and what kind of vehicles have been donated to these schools?
Well, our consumer assistance program has staff that manage this program for us. I could actually provide you with a list. So basically the program, schools that are retired and go to a dismantler, if there are schools that are interested in obtaining a specific type, year, model, whatever they're looking for, if we have one of those vehicles available at a dismantler site, we coordinate with the dismantler and the school to get that vehicle transferred to the school. And then the school uses that for their classroom for a period of time until they no longer need it. And then we coordinate the return to that vehicle to the dismantler to have it crushed. So if you are interested, you can reach out to me. My email address is there on the screen. I could provide you with a list of schools that participate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure, Gene, no problem.
Good to see you, Gene. Any other comments, questions from the audience here in the room? Oh yeah, Anthony, jump in, please.
Just one follow-up comment. I wanted to give a shout out to Kim McFall in the audience. She runs the CNCDA Foundation and interfaces directly with a lot of community colleges throughout the state. So if there's any need for connections, I don't want to volunteer her, but I'm sure the foundation would be happy to interface with the group and making sure that these vehicles are available at appropriate community colleges throughout the state.
That's a good contact. We'll deal with the Consumer Assistance Program Manager who's sitting behind you a few rows, Denise Cunningham. Good. On our break, maybe you guys can have a short conversation. Thank you, Anthony, for doing that. And public comment on the WebEx. Moderator, could you open it up for public comment?
Certainly. If anyone would like to make a comment on the report, you can look for the hand icon, which is typically at the bottom of your WebEx screen, or if you're on a mobile device, it may be behind the three-dot other options. Click that to raise your hand, and we will take the commenters in the order requested. If you cannot use your microphone, you may use the Q&A feature. You could click on the question mark icon and type your request in there. Are there any comments on this presentation? I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes, thank you, moderator.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you so much, Linda. Great job.
Thank you.
I'm really pleased with adding these updates to our agenda today. That was a good overview of what's been happening both last year and moving forward for this year. And we'll do the same with our next division update from Clay Leake, who's Deputy Chief of the Smog Check Engineering and Information Services Division. Clay is here in the room, so we'll have a different experience in the presentation. But that went well. Thank you for the virtual update, Linda.
Good morning. Everybody hear me?
Is the mic on? Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Great to be here. Great to see everyone again. Happy New Year. And thanks for the introduction, Pat. And we'll dive right into some accomplishments from 2024. Do we have can you advance me? Oh, there we go. Thank you. Start off with the engineering and research branch. We did get a regulation package adopted. The package is in relation to updated smog check inspection equipment and station requirements. The biggest piece of this we continue to work on is an updated specification for our data acquisition device, or our DAD. We call the new data acquisition device, or DAD, the DAD 2.0. For those that aren't familiar with that particular piece of equipment, oh, thank you very much. It is the only piece of equipment that we actually certify that supports smog check inspections. So a lot more to come as we work to implement the DAD 2.0. Obviously, a lot of outreach to the industry. We're still working on certifying updated DADs. So a lot more to come on that particular topic over the next couple years as we get that equipment out into the field. Also, a lot of work around expanded dynamic data collection. The collection of this additional data is really critical as we work to expand our efforts to deter fraud in the smog check program. This expanded data collection is what allows us to identify anomalies in the data and make sure that inspections are occurring in the manner that we expect them to. So a lot of good work on that department, a lot of analysis and low-level data processing. So kudos to the engineers for that work. Also, a lot of work going on around supporting the Department of Motor Vehicles and their modernization efforts. They have a large project occurring right now called DXP, or Digital Experience. Obviously, we interface with the Department of Motor Vehicles regularly as they work to tie the registration and smog check processes together. So we continue to work with them very closely to make sure there's no disruption in any of those processes. Also, a lot of work this year integrating the vehicle safety system inspection processes into the California vehicle inspection system. For those familiar with the brake and lamp program, we relied on paper certificates. There was no digital support or technology really supporting that inspection. So, it was really difficult to kind of get a read what was going on in that program because we didn't have any metrics. We didn't have any data. We didn't even know how many certificates we sold or were issued. So integrating that into the CalViz and, supporting the digital purchase of inspection or certificates and then being able to support that inspection digitally has given us a lot of visibility and a lot more control into that program. So kudos for all the work that occurred there. On the technology services branch side, Linda touched on the bar enforcement and licensing modernization project, so I won't go too much further into that, but really proud of what the team was able to accomplish and really proud that we're able to offer people the ability to apply online. As I've said before, we're a little late to the party there. Probably could have happened a little bit earlier, but really proud of the work that's been done and the team that's been kind of built around supporting that. So really proud of the work there. Also, a lot of work going on in the background, something that nobody would know, but a lot of work going into refreshing our primary data center, new Oracle Exadatas, all new servers. The fact that we were able to do that with no downtime and the fact that nobody knew that was happening tells me what a success it was. So kudos to the technical team for a lot of that background work going on in support of smog check. Also a huge undergoing every year. We are audited by the Department of Military from a security perspective. We passed with flying colors. Obviously, IT security is a big focus in today's landscape, and really proud that team's been able to continue to be one of the leaders in that area, and we continue to be able to meet California standards and policies. Another big achievement, migrating all of our phones to Microsoft Teams or soft phones. Traditionally, right, most offices you have a computer and you have a hard phone sitting there and you pick it up and you use it. Well, we no longer have hard phones. All of that has been integrated into Microsoft Teams. Huge advantages from a business continuity perspective, from a telework perspective, that's all in one place. Also quite a bit of cost savings there. So a lot of work to get that completed and kudos to the TSB team. Also a lot of day-to-day work, just standard break fix stuff. I think a lot of it kind of goes uncelebrated, but certainly want to recognize our service desk and all the work that goes into keeping our programs working and doing their jobs day to day. 4 large CalViz releases deployed this year. And again, most of the scope of that was focused on supporting the vehicle safety system inspection program. And then lastly, the audits and inspection branch. Beautiful. Business as usual for the most part for this branch. This branch supports our roadside inspection program. Also our audit branch goes out and inspects smog check stations, make sure the equipment's working properly. So the big change here We were really struggling to get enough data in terms of the roadside data collection from from older vehicles, from bar 97s, to really make it a valid statistical sample. So we finally made the decision to move away from bar 97 testing on roadside. Some huge cost savings there because we don't have to lug a portable bar 97 around the state collecting that data. So we've shifted to OIS only for those teams, and some real positive changes there. Moving on to 2025 in terms of projects and initiatives. On the engineering and research branch side, very soon we will initiate an analysis of a contracted network to support the inspection of older or pre-OBD2 vehicles. We were provided direction by the legislature to do this, and basically with the intent of providing a way to continue to inspect these older vehicles and continue to obtain the emissions benefits associated with the inspections of these older vehicles. So very soon, the industry will see some surveys. We will be reaching out to smog check stations to get some input in terms of their interest in supporting bar 97 testing as potentially as a subcontractor of this prime contractor that would support this contracted network. And start gathering some information around the interest of, if STAR stations would want to continue to test older vehicles or not, right? If they have an interest in being a OIS only STAR station, things of that nature. So more to come on there very soon. Following the surveys, there'll probably be a formal request for information as we reach out to the industry and start to engage people that may be interested in helping to support this contracted network. And through all this process, for me especially, the focus is obviously air quality, but also the cost and the convenience to motorists as we look to find a way to continue to support the testing of these vehicles. Also a lot of work going on with regulations. We have a referee fee package that we are working on, that we'll be seeking some input on soon. Also a package around what we call our continuous testing program pilot, looking to formalize that as a public agency remote OBD program. So again, coming soon. Holly already covered the monitor readiness package. So again, continuing work on that. And we also have a package around smog check schools, looking to improve some of the processes around that program. Moving on. Also, another big project underway coming soon to integrate vehicle noise inspections into the California Vehicle Inspection System. Currently, these noise inspections are performed at our referee facilities. The goal here is, again, much like vehicle safety, to roll that into a digital platform so we can track and have a lot more visibility to those inspections. We will be supporting the noise inspection of motorcycles beginning on 1/1/2027. That will also occur at our referee facility. On the technology services branch side, we will make another big push to make sure all the OBD inspection systems are running on supported Microsoft operating systems. Some of you remember the push from Windows 7 to Windows 8 to Windows 9 going back a few years. Windows 10 to Windows 11 will be the next big push, and you'll see some outreach well in advance of those deadlines occurring. So that will be coming in 2025 as Windows 10 support currently is scheduled to end in October of 2025. Also a lot of work on the TSB side supporting the Department of Motor Vehicles, as I mentioned, their modernization efforts, and also their efforts to support and address registration-based fraud. Linda touched on kind of maintenance and operations of the enforcement and licensing modernization platform as well. Our technology branch is very integrated into those processes. I am a big proponent of continuous improvement. So those are processes we are working to get into place and continue to mature as we continue to look to improve that platform and those online experiences for our applicants and licensees. So a lot more to come there over the next few years. And then lastly, quarterly releases for the California Vehicle Inspection System. And again, a lot of focus on some of the areas I just mentioned. And then lastly, on the audits and inspection side, I touched on the public agency remote OBD program regulation package. So a lot of work will go into that package as we look to kind of codify that program, or the never-ending pilot, as we like to refer to it at BAR. And also a big effort as the state adopts telematics. A lot of state agencies are looking to enroll in our continuous testing pilot program. So there will be a huge lift in terms of getting a lot of those agencies registered and those vehicles into the program. And that's it for me. Certainly happy to address any questions. Looking forward to 2025 and working with all of you as we continue to build upon all the successes that we've had. Thank you.
Great presentation, Clay. Really amazed about all the work that the branches under the division are doing, and it's really nice to see it highlighted here for our advisory group. I just wondered if you could touch upon, before we open it up for a few questions here, on the maintenance and operations. There's a couple of things I'm aware of, and maybe you can elaborate on them, one of which I think will be of interest to Mr. Molodonov. We do online renewals currently, but there's going to be an effort to integrate the registration and license renewal process into the ELM project. That's one of the projects I'm aware of for during M&O, or maintenance and operations of the project, and then the training certifications.
Yes, we've been working on a new workflow that will allow automotive repair dealers to update automotive educational certifications to the site, and will subsequently be some sort of indication on the auto shop locator that that particular automotive repair dealer has staff with bar approved. I always forget if it's bar approved or bar accepted. Where did we? Bar accepted. Thank you very much. Training certification. So a lot of work's been going into that, and we hope to have something out very soon. You mentioned online renewals. We do support online renewals. It's not the most elegant process. So that is another business function that we will integrate into the SimplyGov platform soon, definitely within 2025. I think that process could be much more graceful in terms of collecting CE as part of the process, being able to upload documentation, things that just aren't, we aren't capable of doing on the platform that is there today. And certainly open to other ideas from all stakeholders in terms of ways to improve the platform, ways to improve the process. Always looking to get input from anywhere we can in terms of, how we can better support our licensees and applicants. So if anybody has any ideas, certainly after the demo today, please share those. Would love to collect some of that stuff.
Yep. All right, thank you. Comments, questions from the advisory group? Mr. Kusa.
Thank you, Clay. Dave Kusa, Automotive Service Councils, California. Remind me on the noise exhaust stuff with cars. Is that, I mean, it's complaint. I mean, like you get a ticket or something like that. You have to get your car checked for the exhaust noise?
If you're cited by law enforcement for excessive noise, you are directed to the referee generally to be inspected. So if you are cited by law enforcement, we will inspect you at referee and verify that your vehicle either meets or does not meet.
Okay. And is it all vehicles, or is it just ones that are currently in the program? Like less than 8 years old or older than 1975?
It's all vehicles. Any vehicle cited by law enforcement is eligible to be inspected at the referee.
And if one of these cited vehicles, it has to be inspected, is it strictly the exhaust noise, or does it go deeper into why the exhaust is so loud, such as modifications, missing catalytic converters, so on and so forth?
Right. There is a very specific test procedure that we are required to follow, which is an SAE test procedure. So that's the test procedure we follow. There, in general, it's just noise, but there are some safety aspects to that, right? If you showed up and the vehicle wasn't safe to inspect, and we would turn it away. But we follow the SAE procedure to the T because that's what we're required to do by statute.
Got it. Okay. And the motorcycle inclusion would be the same?
Yes, there's a separate SAE test specification that supports the inspection of motorcycles because it's obviously a different procedure. You set up the equipment differently and all that. So yes, it's the same thing. Very specific test procedure that we follow to the T.
Thank you.
All right. Additional questions, comments from the advisory group? Seeing none here, we'll open it up. Any advisory group members who are attending virtually, moderator?
Yes, Dean has his hand up.
All right. Good morning. Thanks, Clay. I had two questions, actually. I'll ask the second one first, which was the motorcycle noise inspection. Is there any intention to open that test facility to industry if there's any companies developing motorcycle exhaust and want to make sure that they conform to that SAE spec? I think it's J2853, but In some cases, there's a lack of test facilities. Is that a possibility? And then my second question had to do with monitor readiness. You mentioned that maybe there was something ongoing, but it looked like the comment previously was it had been passed over at DCA and was kind of in its final stages. Is there anything else that might be happening on that side?
I'll start with the monitor readiness question. No, that's the update. We're still working to finalize the package, and obviously everyone will have an opportunity to provide comments to that package as it goes through the process. I'm not quite sure I understand the test facility question. We have a contractor, the Foundation for California Community Colleges, that has roughly 40 facilities across the state. So that's where those noise inspections occur. If you were interested in a tour of one of those facilities, or we could certainly accommodate that, but I'm not quite sure what you're looking for in terms of the ability to do testing.
Yeah, I misunderstood what the intention was there, and we've had several of our members try to bring exhaust products to market for the motorcycle segment, but they lack in the ability to test for noise and make sure they're compliant before they release a product. So anyways, I can follow up offline with this. It may be better addressed there.
Okay, yeah, sounds great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Anybody else?
I don't see any other
bag members.
Bag members.
Yeah. Okay, we'll open it up for public comment on this presentation here in the room. Anybody? Not seeing any. We'll open it up for public comment on the WebEx.
Okay, we do have one request for comment from someone logged in as BAC. I'm going to send you a request to unmute your mic. And you're unmuted. Go ahead. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay, great. Good morning. This is
a little louder if you can.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, just a little bit louder would be helpful.
Okay. My name is Bruce Cosby, owner of Advanced Automotive Training in Rancho Cordova. Good morning, Chief DeRay. How are you?
Good, Bruce. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, it's been a while. So I have a couple of questions, and I think probably Clay, maybe. Clay, you had indicated in your PDF or your PowerPoint here, there was I think it's page 1 of 3. Down at the bottom, you vaguely mentioned smog check schools. And I know there's a new regs package coming out concerning that. Is there any, can you elaborate a little further on that at all?
In terms of the status or the content, I guess I'm not quite sure what you're...
Yeah, the content. I heard there was a couple of changes. Number one, BAR was no longer going to require that a training vehicle be registered in the school's name. I also heard that they were going to require instructors to have L3 certification. I'm just trying to get sort of clarification on that.
You know, it sounds like you may have more detail around that particular package than I do at this point. It's been quite some time since I reviewed the package. I don't know that I could speak intelligently to the details. Other than that, we've been made aware by numerous stakeholders of some opportunities to kind of improve, you know, our smog check training program. And so the goal of this package is to kind of, you know, tighten up some of those holes. Certainly as the package goes through the process, again, all stakeholders are going to have an opportunity to weigh in and provide feedback to the content.
Okay. I'm sorry. Do you have an idea on when that new rigs package is due out? Is it going to be in 25 or 26 or, you know?
Our goal is 25. But obviously the regulatory process is time consuming, and it would be very difficult, you know, to give you an exact time frame just because the priorities change, right? And resources vary in terms of support. So, but certainly stay tuned to the, you know, the website and the bag meeting, and we will provide ample advance opportunity when that's coming down the pipe.
Okay, all right.
I think I would just add that we'll look to do a workshop, most likely, as we do with all of our regulatory packages. So there'll be ample time to weigh in on it even before we have filed the package with the Office of Administrative Law.
Okay, great. All right. And then Clay, another question. Can you elaborate on release time or updates on the DAD 2.0?
Again, we're still working with the equipment manufacturers to certify that equipment. So I don't have any firm timeframes yet. Our goal is to get it out there as soon as possible, but obviously there's a bunch of research and development and product design and development that has to occur. So I don't have a more firm timeline than that for you, unfortunately.
Okay. I mean, are we looking at 2025 or 2026, or do you?
I would love to have the equipment certified this year. It certainly won't be deployed across the state or required in 2025. That's several years out. Getting new equipment deployed across the state is definitely time consuming. But again, our goal is always to provide ample opportunity, give everyone an opportunity to get that equipment, obviously, before we have a hard cutoff.
Sure. Yeah, the reason I'm asking is I've got students inquiring about it, so I just want to make sure I have accurate information on that.
More to come soon.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'm assuming also another question I'm getting in the classroom is cameras on the units. I heard that got pushed to the back end of 2027, if it's going to happen at all. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, so we do have the authority to integrate cameras into smog check equipment. We are not doing any active development at this point on that particular feature. It's something I would love to do, but it is a very resource intensive change. Obviously, the addition of the biometric palm reader potentially has solved some of those issues. So we may or may not I think it's fair to say we may or may not move that particular piece of functionality forward.
Okay. All right. And also, I'm not sure if I understood, I might have missed part of what you were saying earlier. You had mentioned something about a split off between OIS and the Bar 97, and that those that were going to stay with the Bar 97 are going to subcontract with the state. And I thought I heard you say that those that were just going to concentrate on OIS would be STAR eligible. Did I misunderstand that? That you could be STAR and just be OIS as a STAR station with OIS?
That question we might connect offline, and I could walk you through some provisions of Assembly Bill 1263 that are relating to those two changes. We've been given authority to establish a contracted centralized, I wouldn't call it centralized, a contracted hybrid network to inspect older vehicles. If we move forward with that particular change, another provision gives us the authority to shift the testing of model year 1996 and to 1999 vehicles to the OIS, which would potentially give us the ability to, create basically an OIS STAR only station, a station that could maintain a STAR and just do OBD inspections.
Okay.
Those are on or after provisions. We don't have any hard time frames around any of those changes. We could certainly connect offline and kind of walk you through the strategy and that authority and kind of how we're going down that path.
Okay, I can email you later. I know how to get a hold of you. And then last question is possibly maybe Chief DeRay, I don't know. I've asked this before. Assembly Bill 210, or I think it's either Assembly Bill or Senate Bill 210, that's looking at moving 76 model year vehicles, 76 to 83 model year vehicles out of the program. Eventually, they're going to bring the cut points down and then try to move those either into vehicle retirement and then ultimately drop 76 to 83 out of the program. I know that's been brought up several times. It's been shot down, but I heard it's coming back around again. So anybody can comment on that, please?
That particular topic seems to come up about every couple years, so we'll continue to monitor those efforts and make whatever changes to the program are required by the legislature.
Okay, so nothing hard and fast then at this point for that.
Not that I'm aware of.
No, we haven't heard of any effort to resurrect that proposal in the current legislative session. If there is, please bring it to our attention.
Okay, just asking mainly for clarification because that also gets brought up in the classroom as well. So I just want to be able to give them a hard response one way or the other. Okay, that's it for my questions. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, Bruce, thank you very much for attending. I just, we will, on the topic that you addressed or asked on the contracted network for testing older vehicles, if we move forward with that, kind of the first step in making a determination on that is the survey that Clay referenced that we'll be releasing soon after this meeting, probably within the next couple of weeks, safe to say. So be on the lookout for that, and you'll be able to weigh in on that proposal.
Okay. Also, there is one other question that I meant to ask last year. On the Cars for Schools program, is that just limited only to community colleges, or is that open for private enterprise as well?
It's high schools, community colleges, ROP programs. Yep.
Okay, so nothing in the private sector then?
No.
Okay. All right. That answers my question. Thanks, Pat. Good to talk to you. Thank you, Clay, for your time. I appreciate that as well.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Good questions.
Moderator, any other questions for our presenter today?
We do. Let's see. We have a request from Striker One. I'm going to send you a request to unmute your mic.
Striker One.
There you go. Go ahead, Striker.
My name is actually Russ Gibbon from San Diego, California.
Okay.
And, I represent Californians for Classic Car Smog Exemptions with 4,500 members. And I'd like to say that it looks like the BAR is grappling with the issues related to BAR 97 inspections for 76 to 99 vehicles. And I want to make emphasis of that for us as motorists, as car owners, the cost and the issue really isn't finding BAR test stations or even the cost of the test itself, but the problem is maintaining our cars using a dwindling supply of parts. Most parts for late 70s and early 80s engines and smog components are not being manufactured anymore. In fact, they're very, very difficult to find. In my case, for a 78 Trans Am, I could not find replacement cylinder heads anywhere. Fortunately, my machine shop was able to repair the cylinder heads that I have. But things like this are generally not available. There are many, many obsolete small parts that are not being reproduced. They're not available, so it's extremely difficult to find them. And that's a huge issue for us. Another issue is that we cannot use modern technologies like electronic fuel injection. There's actually an EFI system that is CARB approved, D722, that allows the atomic EFI system to be used for General Motors 1987 and earlier vehicles that are carbureted. However, this system will not work if you must maintain the air injection reaction system on the car, basically the smog pump and the smog tubes, which injects oxygen ahead of the O2 sensor. So it will not work. It sends a false lean signal to the ECM, which just continues richening the mixture. And I've talked to the BAR referees, and they indicate that you cannot delete any smog system that is required for that model year of car. So basically, if you have AIR, you cannot use the modern EFI systems. There are no way to do it. So my biggest problem, like I said, is not being able to find replacement parts and to use modern technologies. And so we'd like to find out if BAR would be supportive, at least in terms of generating data, for some kind of a new exemption, a cap and trade exemption for 76 to 99, where a vehicle owner could limit the mileage to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, maybe 5,000 miles a year, and in addition, to pay a smog abatement fee to mitigate any remaining emissions so that we could get to some kind of legislative change that would be emissions neutral. So that's basically the question is could BAR be supportive of an effort to create some kind of a cap and trade exemption for 96 to 90, 76 to 99 that would allow people to opt out of the smog check program by limiting mileage and paying a smog abatement fee?
Russ, interesting question, and thank you for bringing it forward to this group. Similar to the question, I think it's in the same kind of vein of what Mr. Cosby was asking regarding an exemption process. It is going to take some legislation to push that kind of a proposal forward. Certainly something we'd be obviously involved in, but that would be how we'd have to get something like that approved to even begin looking at it.
Am I allowed to make a follow-up question?
Sure.
Does legislation have to be introduced first, or could BAR work with stakeholder groups to generate data for a legislative proposal that we would then try to get into the mix politically?
I think it would be, the legislation would need to come for us to jump into this.
The BAR would need to receive direction from the legislature in some way.
Certainly, yes.
Thank you.
All right, and let's see, our next request for comment is from Eric Owen. Eric, I'm going to send you a request. Oh, let's see, Eric Owen is not on the call any longer. My apologies. Eric's written question or comment was, I would like to request an exemption from testing for pre-OBD vehicles, especially those that are driven low numbers of miles annually by enthusiasts. So just letting you know that that came in. And
thank you, moderator. Same type of question that both Mr. Cosby and the individual with the first name Russ, I forgot his last name, had brought up. Taken an act of the legislature to do something like that.
Thank you. And we did have a raised hand, although it's down now, from Sev Kokarian. Sev, I'm going to send you a request to unmute your microphone in case you do still have your question. You're unmuted.
Thanks for taking my question. I had the question in the same vein. I'm also from the California for Classic Car Smog Exemptions. I'm a longtime owner of an older car that has become quite cumbersome to keep the smog on, to get it to be smog. And my question was essentially the same thing: is I drive that car maybe 1,000 miles a year, but I'm required to keep it in a condition for smog where I might be driving it 20, 30,000 miles a year, right? And it becomes quite cumbersome. So, just backing up from what the others were saying on the call as well is, I think it would make sense, and now I understand that it has to come from the legislature, so that's why I took my hand down. But I think it would make sense as a common sense kind of a thing is to allow older cars that, under a certain amount of mileage annually driven, to be able to have some sort of action where there's, cap and trade. We pay a fee to get a smog abatement and keep these older cars on the road that we enjoy driving.
Yeah, as a fellow car enthusiast, I certainly understand the intent and motivation behind the request. At this point, I suspected that this might go down this path of exemptions, but at this point, we've been given authority to establish a contracted network to continue inspecting these older vehicles, right? So that's really what the conversation for us is about right now. If we were to receive some different direction from the legislature, obviously, those are things we could start to consider and weigh in and provide some technical input on. So certainly appreciate your interest, but right now the conversation really needs to be geared around this contracted hybrid network.
Understood. Now, can I ask a follow-up question there?
Sure.
Who from the legislator can the members of the public reach out to start that conversation?
Anybody.
Would it just be a local representative, like a House representative or a state senator, something like that?
I mean, that would be my suggestion as the representative for your district.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I had the lobbyists nodding. That was the correct answer. So I think I gave you good direction there.
Wonderful. And this is the moderator. We do have one more comment from Justin. Justin, I'm going to send your request to unmute. And go ahead.
Hi, Justin. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. I would just like to express full support for the 3 previous comments and the additional direction from you guys to work with our local legislators. There's a lot of really cool collector cars that are low mileage that represent, California history and car history and hot rod history. And so, yeah, it's getting harder and harder to keep these things on the road. So I'm in full support of that. And thanks for the additional direction to talk with our legislators.
Yeah, thank you.
And I do not see any further requests for comment. Shall I close that public comment feature?
Thank you. Yes, please.
You're welcome.
All right. Clay.
Yeah, it's popular
now,
today.
Now you know what to look forward when you release the survey.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you again.
Thanks, Clay.
Thank you very much for that presentation. And we'll move forward with one final presentation before we break. Bill Thomas with Field Operations and Enforcement Division here at the Bureau of Automotive Repair. Welcome, Bill.
Thanks, Pat. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Zach. Zach gets very concerned if I go off script, so he's going to make me look at my presentation before I get up here. And enjoy the opportunity to be up here and talk about the accomplishments of the Enforcement Division, the Field Operations and Enforcement Division for the 2024. Before I start, I want to thank Pat for his guidance in the executive office, and also thank my fellow deputies, Clay and Linda. None of this stuff happens, enforcement doesn't go out and do everything it does without the support from Clay and Linda's divisions. And so it's a team, and we work quite well together, and that makes us all of us able to get up here and talk about our accomplishments. So with that, I will get into talking about what some of those are.
Glasses.
Glasses. I almost left these up my chair. So enforcement headquarters in Rancho Cordova, as many are aware, the Field Operations and Enforcement Division for the Bureau includes 11, formerly 12 remote field offices, several other facilities throughout the state for enforcement operations, and but headquarters, we do a lot of work there, even though that's a very, very small percentage of the staff that I have within the division. So enforcement headquarters, we supported the field operations part of the division in managing the inspections that were necessary for the new safety stations and initializing all those stations to get a significant or a sufficient number up and running prior to the official rollout of the Vehicle Safety Systems Inspection Program. We provided guidance and I worked with my program managers to make that as smooth as possible. We also worked with Linda's team on regulatory packages, including storage fees. Many of you may not be aware, we have been actively involved in that regulation package. Tear down disclosures and mobile and referral ARD regs. We're working on those as well. We established headquarters, 2 new branches or units as part of our continuous review of operational structure. I've been in this position almost 3 years now, and every day I'm kind of pondering, is there a better way to do business and support industry, protect the public, and do what we need to do. And so one of those was the initiation of a statewide investigations branch. And Matt, you're welcome. I'm promoting you back up to investigations from inspections. And a field support services unit. We're doing a lot more stuff electronically, and so we're able to a lot of the stuff where people would used to have to go to a bar field office to, well, geez, back in the 90s, you would have to go back to the bar field office to pick up smog certificates and to issue them. All that stuff is electronically virtual, so we're able to do more of it from headquarters with that support services unit doing that. And we created a new consumer complaint process to reduce overall complaint cycle time. What we did in headquarters is evaluated the complaint, the documentation that was prepared at the end of a complaint investigation and attempted resolution between the ARD and the consumer, and looked at, did we really need to write a full-on accusation level investigative report? And we've scaled that way back to more. It's now we're looking at just a summary of what took place, what in our expert opinion, in the Bureau's opinion, took place during the automotive repair transaction, because that's really what we're there for, is to gather all the evidence and figure out what took place. Linda mentioned earlier a subpoena process change. That was intertwined with that effort, and it has put us in a position now where either party could subpoena the Bureau rep and to come into small claims to a civil court and describe what we found to have taken place during the repair. Next slide, please. Our technical training unit, which is part of the division, has partnered for many years now with CHP to provide street racing and there's an L in there. We all missed that on review, but sideshow trainings. I typed it, so I think it falls on me, the original send there. It's street racing and sideshow trainings, educating law enforcement officers on what to look for to identify illegally modified vehicles that are commonly used in street racing or sideshows. All the news reports of the San Joaquin County Sheriff's efforts in Lodi, where several vehicles were seized. We had trained those officers in conjunction with CHP. At CHP's training, we provide guidance on what to look for on heavily modified vehicles, pursuant to Vehicle Code 27156. I hope that's right. I have a lot of codes that I refer to. It is illegal to operate a vehicle that has modified pollution controls in California. And so we give the officers that tool, and that's just one way of getting that car off the road. It's been quite effective. The Enforcement Operations Branch, they administer the informal appeal conferences for what are called ARD citations issued pursuant to the Business and Professions Code. 12 citations were appealed informally. That's out of approximately 70 that were issued. Affirmed, 9 of them were affirmed by the panel. 1 was dismissed. And no shows. There were 2 that did not show, and so those citations were affirmed kind of almost in a default process. So next slide, please. In the Field Support Services Unit, appointed 2 managers and filled several analytical positions. In Statewide Investigations Branch, appointed 3 managers and filled 10 investigator positions. In the Field Operations and Enforcement Branch, this is where the rubber meets the road. Our field offices, over 1,200 educational interactions with registrants, unlicensed repair facilities, educating them to get licensed and so forth. Disciplinary cases, approximately 130 cases were closed. I want to point that out to everybody. The number of educational efforts is 10 times the number of disciplinary cases. Please remember that when we're meeting this afternoon and at other times. A couple of those disciplinary cases were in the bar's newsletter that's available on our website. Airport Collision and Mid-Valley Automotive, both revoked for storage and automotive repair fraud. So we are investigating the storage issues. now and filing cases for that. And there are others. Those are two that were, since they were in the newsletter, I wanted to point them out. We received over 16,000 complaints in 2024. That has been on an upward trend since 2020. And that's good to see. I paused there because Bud's not here today, because Bud usually has input on our complaint process, and no Bud Rice today. I'm sorry to. Assisted, many of you may have heard of the U.S. attorney indicting 12 people in a smog check fraud case. There was bar involvement in those investigations, and we partnered with we assisted our federal partners. And there are now 436 VSSI stations active and able to do inspections. Next slide. In 2025, in enforcement headquarters, we want to continue the regulations process, finish storage fees one way or another, move forward with the mobile and referral ARD regs, and also in headquarters going to continue to review the operational structure to gain efficiencies and provide excellent customer service to our stakeholders, consumers, industry, and so forth. The technical training unit will continue to partner with CHP for the street racing and sideshow training, and they will develop further internal training programs for bar staff. Continued on the next slide, the Enforcement Operations Branch is going to continue to process informal citation appeal conferences, and will be collaborating, all the divisions and branches within and programs within the Field Operations and Enforcement Division are going to be collaborating together to continue to pursue process improvement. Field Support Services Unit, we're going to continue to absorb some of the administrative processes on a statewide basis to establish consistency. And our statewide investigations branch, they're rapidly gearing up to conduct investigations to address that portion, that very, very small portion of our industry that doesn't want to follow the rules. And we're prepared to address that quickly and efficiently. Field operations are going to continue. We're going to continue and increase educational efforts. It's much more cost effective for us to educate the industry. And for the most part, again, I tell everybody 95% of our industry is just there to feed their families and make a living. And it's our obligation to educate and assist in them to be successful in that within the guidelines of the laws and regulations. We will continue to evaluate and modify the consumer complaint process to achieve a fair and equitable process for complainants and repair facilities. And we will provide input to management and the Executive Office on emergent automotive repair trends. We were talking about, David and I were talking about one of those before the meeting, an emergent trend. So that's it for my presentation. My contact information is on the next slide, and I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Bill.
We'll open it up.
Very good presentation. Any comments or questions from the advisory group? Jack.
Hi, Jack Muladana for the California Auto Body Association. Thanks, Bill. My question surrounds the statewide investigative branch. I see here you appointed three managers, filled 10 investigative positions, develop, and I guess for 25, you're hoping that you can develop advanced investigative methodologies to quickly seek discipline where appropriate. I mean, it sounds like an elite statewide strike force team of some kind, because I know generally your field office handles complaints and enforcement. It's based on consumer complaints primarily. So can you amplify a little bit on this statewide, this new statewide unit and how, what this is about?
Do I have a time limit?
Can we say no? Can we say no?
Can we?
He asked the question.
He did say, the question was, can you amplify? So the answer is no.
We will.
Yes, the field offices will continue for various reasons, and that's the reason I asked time limit. We could be here quite a while if we discuss, hiring trends. When repair shop owners are facing challenges getting technicians and retaining technicians, those pressures affect us as well, salary pressures and so forth. Only we're not able to adjust our salaries. So the Bureau has had some staffing issues over the last 3 or 4 years but we always want to focus on, as in this report, the educational opportunities with the industry and the consumer complaints, because that's where we most directly interface with the public and with the industry. And so we've had to kind of shift a lot of the field operations focus on that complaints, as opposed to starting to refuse complaints, which we've never done in my tenure since 2008 with the Bureau. We don't refuse complaints unless it's, it's about a refrigerator repair. Obviously, that's not jurisdictional. But so we've always maintained our focus on assisting individual consumers with individual complaints with a repair transaction. And continuing that effort has compromised our ability to, as it says in here, aggressively pursue discipline where appropriate. The bad actors are bad for the industry as well. For all the good actors, a bad shop. When I was in industry, I had a bad facility across the street, and I would quote a brake service, and they would say, well, there's a coupon across the street for half that. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to go, you're never going to leave for half that. And they wouldn't. So we have to, the Bureau, to fully achieve consumer protection, has to focus and address those shops. And with changes in technology and industry practices and so on and so forth, we have to change a little bit how we go about proving that it is a shop worthy of discipline, if you will, and that discipline is appropriate. And that's what SIB is there for. They have an acronym. I thought about Statewide Observations Network, SUN. That would get us our another, because we have DAD, and we have SIS, the Safety Inspection System, and so now we would have SUN. But anyway, the Statewide Investigations Branch is to really not, the bad actors have gotten quite crafty and quite creative with some of their schemes. And so that, when I say to aggressively and develop advanced technologies, is to look at those schemes and figure out different ways around addressing them.
So generally, consumer files a complaint, it gets to the field office, and they're the ones that primarily handle it. Is this new statewide, I'm calling it, you kind of come up with a name, but I just think of a strike force. But are they going to go outside of that, or are they going to, how is that going to work? Are they going to get complaints outside the normal process?
It's key to remind everyone, and I've given presentations over the years on our complaint process versus our investigative processes. Bureau of Automotive Repair does things a little differently, the Enforcement Division, in that in other boards and bureaus within the department, a complaint automatically turns into an investigation. The Bureau doesn't do that and has never done that realistically. Well, we might have some complaints that evolve into an investigation. If there's, we find a consumer complaint and there's $1,500 of fraud there, we're likely going to file a case based upon that complaint. But not all complaints become investigations. And our goal in every complaint is to resolve the dispute between the parties and get the matter closed. And then if we're warranted, using our database and looking at patterns and behaviors on the part of certain ARDs, we'll turn around and open a separate investigation outside of the complaint process. So the short answer is no, they will not be investigating or mediating any consumer complaints. They will be looking at the data and the trends within the industry to target investigative approaches where needed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Webb.
Hey, Bill, good morning. Yeah, it's still morning. Question. So On the educational efforts and compliance, so when you guys go out and are handling a complaint and you issue what's the report called? The field station report. You track the issues that were discussed on those, like in a database. Is that tracked separately from, obviously you track all the complaint types from the consumer, but are those other?
See, now you're going down the path of how the sausage is made. We track everything.
Okay. So my question on that is, so is that, are you using that data to prioritize the educational efforts? And so let me give you an example. So say you go out on a complaint, someone says, this shop screwed up their engine or the engine blew up. You go investigate that, then you look at the invoice and their invoice is missing something. That's a pretty typical scenario, right? The invoice isn't correct. It's missing a part that was maybe put on the car. It's missing whatever. So those are the items I'm asking about specifically. Are those being tracked? And then, because it seems like they're pretty common. I've looked at maybe 20 of those from other, ARDs over the last year, and they're pretty consistent. Like, this was missing or that was missing or.
So, again, well, on every advisory group meeting on the agenda, there's a enforcement statistics handout. And in that is complaint trends, which are areas of automotive repair. That is more what we focus on when targeting investigative technologies, is where are we seeing a lot of complaints and what are the allegations related to those complaints? And both those are reported on that later. Station inspection reports are not necessarily, really, they're not a targeting method in any way. They're strictly, quite honestly, a memorialization of a conversation that took place.
Okay.
And it might be a formal written records request in the case of trying to get copies of records. So really, there's not information there that's used for targeting, because it's just what was the conversation we had. Now, if the engine blew up and it was due to a negligent act, or if they never had authorization to perform whatever repairs they did to that engine, that's going to be documented in those trends and allegations report that you see a copy of.
Sure.
And that's much, much more relevant information to us than what's on the SIRs. Another acronym.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Additional questions, comments? Mr. Nguyen?
Hal Wynn, Automotive Business Coalition. Thank you so much, Bill. This question is in regards to the project's initiatives. You have continued increased educational efforts to achieve compliance with BAR laws and regulations. I was wondering if you have any kind of formal roadmap as to how that would be achieved in 2025. Or as of right now, it's just conceptual and it needs to be figured out at a later date.
Short answer is no. We don't have a formal roadmap because it's constantly evolving, kind of something what Clay mentioned. Where regulations are necessary, we want to move forward with those, but then priorities change. And there's a potential for a fairly significant change within our organization coming up in the next few months that could affect how we do a lot of things. And I don't know that I'm at liberty to discuss a whole lot of that yet, but really want to get the focus, renew our focus on educational activities, more conferences, more Right at Right conferences, and so forth. And, we talked about the workshops, and we almost internally, we almost cringe when we say, well, we're going to have our 4th storage workshop. Those are, even in the most confrontational parts of those workshops, those are very valuable to me. I find them to be very valuable because those educate us and help us to. So those regulations and other regulations that we're working on lay the foundation we put the regulations in place and then we up our educational efforts to say, okay, here's the new regulations. Here's how you comply with those. So it gets merged in with the Right at Right and other activities. We would like to, I would like to renew our focus on what was called the Education First program, which when a new ARD came online, go out and offer them the opportunity, any ARD. I mean, if you've had an ARD for, Dave opened a second location and got an ARD, I don't think he really needs to hear our Education First, but things like that.
Anybody else? Dave.
Thanks, Bill. Hey, you had mentioned that the field agent would be available to testify in civil and or small claims or either party?
Yes.
Okay. Is that new?
No.
No. Okay.
It's not new, but newly promoted.
Okay. Yeah, good to know. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Prioritized. Yeah.
Prioritized.
Yeah, it's the process now.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good question. Anyone else? Moderator, any advisory group members who want to weigh in on this presentation, ask a question or make a comment?
I do not see any raised hands.
Okay, we will open it up for public comment on this topic and this presentation. Anyone in the audience? Jean Lopez.
Thanks, Bill. Hi, Gene Lopez with Seidner's Collision Center. Bill, I think it was 16,000 complaints. And you said that number had grown. Am I mistaken that you said that was a good thing? It seems to me that we should be looking for a reduction in complaints from the enforcement side. And how do we get there? How do we get that number, well below 10,000? And shouldn't that be something that we should strive to do as an industry and as regulators? And so I may have been mistaken that you said that was a good thing, that complaints were increasing and that was a good thing. Am I mistaken there?
No, you're not mistaken at all. And I'm going to stand by my statement and with all due respect, say that the belief that we can get complaints down to zero or near zero is not realistic in this industry. We've got 30 plus million vehicles on the road in California. Automotive Maintenance Association, what's it, 4 repair transactions per year is generally the average, is that, so 120 million plus repair transactions per year. Things are going to go sideways. Parts are going to break. Problems are going to occur. And so I would much rather have the consumer reach out to us so we can look into it, and where there's an educational opportunity, see it. So I don't think 16,000, if you really extrapolate out the number of repair transactions that take place, we're all going to, honestly, and don't take this the wrong way, I'm more concerned about the repair facility that has 0 complaints than I am the one that has 3 or 4 complaints a year. Because I'm wondering, well, what are they doing to not, because things are going to happen. Parts break, things fail, mistakes happen. And that is not a negative statement about this industry. Again, I've been in this industry 40 years now, and I'm quite passionate about it. This industry has raised my family and my grandkids, and my son's in the industry. So I'm quite passionate about it, but the reality is transactions are going to go sideways. And I think it's better for us to be here and be able to resolve those issues than everybody just end up before the courts or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Gene.
Thanks, Nate. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments in the audience? Moderator, could you open it up for public comments via the WebEx?
Certainly. If anyone would like to make a comment, instructions are on the screen. You can look for the hand icon, which is typically at the bottom of the WebEx screen, or if you're on a mobile device, you may see it behind the three-dot other options menu. I do not see any requests for public comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator.
You're welcome.
All right, we are at the point in our agenda where we get to take a break for 15 minutes. It is exactly 11:15 by my phone, and we will resume at 11:30. Thank you. Thank you, moderator. Welcome back from the break. It is 11:32, and we will proceed with our next presentation. Nathan Perrine with the Car Care Councils here to give us an update on the Cool Air Rebate Program. You've been here a couple of times now, and once to kind of launch the program, and I think another time, and now back again to give us an update on how that program's going. So thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Dre, Chief Dre. It's good to be with you. Thank you for having me back. Nathan Perrine, I'm with the Car Care Council. The Car Care Council is a nonprofit, and its mission is to educate motorists about the benefits of a well-maintained vehicle. One of the programs that the council operates is the Cool Air Rebate Program here in California. Have been at this before this body a couple of times introducing the program, and we have launched the program, and I'm delighted to talk about our results and the way the program has gone since this summer. So good to be with you. By way of reminder, the Cool Air Rebate Program is a financial subsidy that is offered to low-income Californians to repair leaking vehicle air conditioning systems, so systems that run R134A. Program pays 80% of the cost of the repair, and the diagnostic is treated separately, but there's a per vehicle limit of $1,500 for a vehicle repair, for an air conditioning repair. We launched this program in July of 2024, and we were hopeful that there would be a demand among consumers for this program, and that there would be an appetite among shops to participate in the program and to take on these repairs and the reimbursement arrangements with the Cool Air Rebate Program, and have been delighted at the results. We focused our efforts in Fresno. Yes, thank you. We focused our efforts in the Fresno area, and very quickly word got out to other parts of the state, whether that's consumers telling family members in other parts of the state, shops telling other shops in different parts of the state. We started in the Fresno area, and it's soon we have repair jobs that are happening from Orange County all the way up to north of here, north of Sacramento. So really delighted with the response from both shops and from consumers. In multiple areas in the state. So from a consumer perspective, 2,600 applications, so 2,600 consumers applied to be in the program. Not all of them have been approved. Some have been rejected because of income requirement. They were not eligible from an income perspective. Some could not produce the right documentation to be accepted in the program, but 2,000 of those consumers have been approved, have been authorized to get their cars repaired at participating shops. So glad that there was a demonstration of demand from the consumer perspective. Also glad that there was a demonstration of willingness to participate in the program on behalf of shops. So we started the program in July. I think we had about 10 shops in the Fresno area, and we were delighted to get 10 shops. And we now have 73 shops. And that number has really grown organically in the shop community. Word got out, and more shops want to participate in this program and are coming to us wanting to be part of the program. So 73 shops as of right now. From July until the end of December, there have been 600 repair jobs done, and over $700,000 has been paid out directly to shops. So happy with that number. Again, it's the launch, it's the pilot, and we have ambitions, of course, to grow that. But that's what happened in the first 6 months of the program. We also track the amount of refrigerant that was recovered from the vehicles and the amount of refrigerant that was installed. So 119 pounds of refrigerant was recovered from these vehicles that were repaired, and 938 pounds of refrigerant was installed. So that was the delta there. The difference is the refrigerant that at some point leaked out into the environment, into the atmosphere. And if refrigerant was added periodically, there's a multiplier there. One of the things that surprised me about this program was the value of what we call community partners. So these are existing nonprofit organizations who serve the population we are targeting, the low-income population. And it was enlightening to me to learn that there's skepticism within this population of programs like this, new programs. There have been bad experiences in the past, and there was some trust that needed to be established with our target population. And these community partners really helped us do that. We have 53 different organizations that we're working with, existing nonprofits, to help us socialize the program, get the word out to consumers about this program, and to endorse this program and to gain the trust of the consumers to apply, and so that they're not worried about their information going somewhere they don't want it to go, or getting burned with some program that they might consider fly-by-night. These programs, these partners have been really helpful. 28,000, 29,000 Californians have been introduced to this program, have heard about the program through these community partners and their in-person events. We feel really great about our partnership, and that's been a really good learning for me, is the value of the collaboration with these community partners. So that's been really helpful for us. From a public relations perspective, we have the program has been on TV. So there was a story in the ABC affiliate in Fresno picked up the story early on, and we saw a lot of consumer applications as a result of that. There was a lot of social media activity that came from that. We've been on NBC and Fox. In fact, what's not listed on here, we've been on Univision. We had one of our Spanish speakers was interviewed live on Univision, which was great. So we've made efforts to get connected with printed media, television media, and we feel really good about some of the inroads that we've made there in public relations in the news media. Yeah, really happy about the program website too. So this, we had to construct this. We had to construct this website. This is a new program, and 42,000 visitors to this program. Average site visit is almost 2 minutes. So that's really good. People are not just clicking and going away. They're sticking around to do things, to apply, or to find a shop. In fact, the most trafficked page on our website is the shop locator page. So if you are a shop participating in this program, you're findable and you're promoted. And in fact, again, that's our most trafficked page. We have conducted surveys, phone surveys with consumers who have gone through the program. And we asked them, is this a shop that you have used in the past? Is this your shop that you go to? And sometimes the answer is yes. And many times the answer is, this is not the shop that I have used. I found this shop on the shop locator page. So being listed on the shop locator page is a way for a shop to get customers. So customers will find you if you are on the shop locator page, if you're in the program. We also have created a lot of collateral marketing materials, and we had some fun with this. We've got T-shirts, and we've got posters and brochures and all kinds of materials that we've created to promote the program, both with consumers and with shops, and it's really fun. In fact, here's some things that we send to shops when they first sign up. We'll give them flags and brochures and hats and things like that, including these tear-off pads here that they can put on their counters to help promote this to their consumers, build awareness of the program. So we have these materials in both English and in Spanish, and more languages to come in the future. But right now that's how we've built the program with those two languages in mind. So shops have resources, and they can order more of these things as they consume them. But we have a whole fulfillment process that we've established to assist shops in promoting the program. We also have a social media presence. So we are on Facebook and Instagram and X, and we do have folks who post things regularly about the program, and we're going to be promoting that more. But really clever stuff that's going on in social, and this is consumer directed to build awareness among consumers about this program. That's going well, and we have big plans for the future as the program expands into next year. We also have created some videos. There's a video here, and these are linked in the presentation. Sorry, Zach, we're a couple of slides behind here. There we go with the tear-off pad. There's our social. No problem. Let's go ahead. Yeah, thank you. So videos. We've produced two different videos, one related to consumers, kind of explaining the application process from a consumer point of view, and another video that's directed towards shops, helping shops understand the process of being, participating in the program, how you apply and how you get paid, and things of that nature. So it's video content as well. In July, so next slide, Zach. In July, we had an event in Fresno. This was July 18th. We had this as a kickoff event at one of the first shops, or I think it was the first shop that we signed up. It was California Smog. And if these pictures were larger, you could probably see the beads of sweat coming off my head. It was a great day to talk about air conditioning. It was super hot. We had a representative from one of the California senators' office was there, and we had some community partners here at this event too, learning about the program and how they can socialize it within their communities. So that was a great in-person kind of kickoff event to launch the promotion of the program. We have done some paid media in Fresno, in particularly. We had signs on buses. We had signs on billboards in the Fresno area promoting the program, so it was visible to consumers. Limited promotion in other parts of the state. We had some down in. I want to say we did some promotion down in the Bakersfield area as well. But as far as paid media goes, it was fairly limited. We were unsure of how much to invest here and what kind of bang for the buck we would get for this advertising. But a lot of impressions, and a lot of folks saw the program as a result of those advertising efforts. I've included here some testimonials from one from a consumer that we met in Fresno, actually. Bertha Valdez talked about how nice it is if you have a working car, how nice it is to have air conditioning in that car. We have a testimonial from a shop and how that has helped their shop. And also one from a community partner, the Neighborhood Resource Center. They've been a dynamite community partner there in Fresno. They've really partnered with us really well and have promoted this program fairly heavily, and they've seen the value of the program. And while we're talking about testimonials, on a personal note, years ago, when I was young in my career, I paid $250 for a 1993 Saturn SL2, 5-speed manual, hand crank windows. I loved driving that car. In fact, we call it the Speed Racer. And yeah, the air conditioning was broken. I knew that. And this was before YouTube, when you just had to know stuff and you couldn't just watch a video on how to fix your car. You just had to know. And I didn't know. And our family didn't have the budget to repair that broken air conditioning system. And I will say that that lack of air conditioning affected how I showed up to my job as a young accounting professional. I lived outside of Washington D.C. and would drive into Washington D.C. on summer mornings, and it affected how I showed up. Do I take another shirt? Do I go to the men's room and dry off? How do I deal with a hot morning in a hot car? So this was probably a program I would have taken advantage of had it existed back then. But I recognize that while we're not curing world hunger, this has an impact on people's lives, having air conditioning in your car. So this slide here, really quick infographic about some of the highlights of the program. Again, $700,000 paid to shops, 600 cars have been fixed, 73 shops in 37 different cities, and 1,500 residents are enjoying a more comfortable ride. So again, this is just the pilot phase. This was just the initial rollout of the program, and we have plans definitely to expand that. We partnered in a couple of ways with some of these organizations, the Service Councils of California. We have a partnership with them to help promote the program among the shop community. And also we've partnered with NAPA. There are about 900 NAPA auto care centers in California. And NAPA has seen the value of this with their parts stores, and they recognize the value of selling compressors and condensers and hoses and evaporator cores. So they're socializing this with their NAPA network of franchise auto care centers. Looking ahead for 2025, we have plans. We would like to give away $5 million. We would like to give away $5 million to shops who participate in this program. That is our target reimbursement to shops. The data tell us that the average reimbursement to the shop is about $1,000, a little more. So that's 5,000 jobs. And to do that, we need more shops than 73. We need we're looking to get another couple hundred shops into this program. And what we've also learned is that just because a consumer applies to be in the program doesn't mean they're going to take their car in to get it fixed. Life gets in the way. They realize their budget changes, whatever the circumstances are. We had a couple of thousand people apply, and 600 jobs were done. So there's an attrition percentage there. So what does that mean to get 5,000 jobs? Well, we probably need 15,000, 17,000, 20,000 applications. So we have work to do to get this out into the consumer community to get people aware of this program and to get them to apply. That's our plan for 2025, is to really, we've demonstrated that there's a demand among consumers and among shops, and now it's time to grow the program. That concludes my comments. Really delighted with the progress of the program and what we were able to demonstrate in the pilot phase, and looking forward to a successful year two. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Nathan. And I remember living in Washington, D.C. as well, and experiencing that summer heat where you feel like you never can dry off.
Yeah, it's not a dry heat. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you for the update. Any questions or comments from the advisory group? Dave?
Good morning.
Hi, Dave.
So Dave with CUSA ASCCA, happy to partner. Looking forward to that, making it successful. So this is available throughout the state now.
It is live, available. Any shop in the state that wants to participate, it's game on.
Excellent. So, Nathan, you said you had 2,600 applications, 2,000 approvals, but only 600 some odd actually repair events.
That's right.
Okay, so 1,400 or so got approved but didn't take advantage of the program.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I will say that we have had a number of consumers apply or ask for extensions.
Got it. Okay.
On their applications. We put a time limit on the approval, and for whatever reason, they're not able to get it done within that time frame and want to get that extended.
Got it. Remind me, where in the repair event does the application go in? Like before they bring the car in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So a consumer applies and they are given a letter, or they're sent a letter via email with a code in it that they can take to a shop.
Got it. Okay. So they would apply, get approved, make an appointment with the participating shop.
That's
so
right.
yeah. So the reason I'm asking is my suspicion is that, so you said, it pays up to $1,500, 80%, right? So, if it's a evaporated core on a Durango, right, it's going to be well above that. And obviously they're going to pay the difference. And I think that might be a big reason that some of that. So if there's a way to, extend the amount that gets paid might help. I don't know. Yeah. I know there's some limitations you have to work with.
We would, I would certainly welcome that. And we have to work with CARB, is kind of the oversight body that we work with to put the guardrails in place on things like that. But I would love to see a more generous reimbursement, because we do have a lot of jobs that max out.
So that puts another thought in my head. So when a approved consumer does not take advantage, do you know why? Does it circle back to you?
So we do ask that question in some cases. In most cases, it's the cost of the repair.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Even the 20% that the consumer has to fund.
Yeah. Well, like I said, right,
$200.
if you got to, blow apart the inside of the vehicle to get the entire instrument dash and everything out of the way, it's going to far exceed that
The
price.
evaporator core is the tough one.
Yeah. Even some compressors and that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Yes, Hal.
Hal with the Automotive Business Coalition. First of all, Nathan, thank you for your presentation. Fantastic program. Quick question is, what's the formal process for an ARD to become part of this program?
So on the program website, there is a page for a shop to complete that application process. And a shop needs to supply really just a few pieces of information. We need the BAR registration number, so that we know it's a legit shop. If it's good enough for BAR, it's good enough for us. There needs to be evidence of that there's a technician that's 609 certified, EPA 609 certified, which is never a problem. But we do have to get that evidence of certification. And the shop needs to tell us how they want to get paid. We pay our shops through an online third-party payment processor called Bill, or Bill.com, they were formerly called. So a shop needs to set up a profile with Bill. It's free. And in that profile, they can specify how they want to get paid, whether it's credit card or ACH or a paper check. We have a couple of shops that still want paper checks. Bless them.
Quick follow-up, how does one fall out of your program, if at all? Or is it nobody has fallen out as of yet and you're not really...
Al, that's a great question. We have not contemplated the kicking out any shops at this point. If we get complaints, and one of the things that's part of the shop onboarding process is the shop has to sign an agreement with the Car Care Council that basically says, if you have a problem with your customer, the Car Care Council is not going to get involved in that. We're just a funder here. We're not going to adjudicate any dispute between you and a consumer. That's your business. But if those complaints start to pile up, we may think about asking questions and taking some action there, but we don't have a formal process right now.
Thank you.
Additional questions, comments? Moderator, could you ask advisory group members who are listening in and participating through the WebEx if they have any questions or comments?
Thank you. And are there any group members who would like to make a comment? I do not see any requests for comment from group members.
Okay, we will open it up for public comment first here in the room. Anyone? Seeing no one, we'll now open it up for comment on the WebEx platform.
Thank you. And if there are any requests for comment on this presentation or the program, you can click on the hand icon at the bottom of your WebEx screen, or that may be behind the 3-dot other options if you're on a mobile device. And if you cannot get through that, you can look for the question mark icon and type your comment in there. It is often better to raise your hand, but I see HQK Mass does not have a microphone. HQK Mass asks, I was wondering if anyone from the Cool Air Rebate Program reviews the AC diagnosis or repairs done to confirm their legitimacy. Also, thank you very much for making this rebate available to the public.
Yeah, thank you for that question. And the invoices are definitely reviewed before they are paid. So we do require that our shops describe the leak. So they have to articulate what part of the system is leaking. They can't just say, well, we found a leak. Oh, you know, is it a Schrader valve? Is it a hose? Is it a seal? Is it a compressor? Tell us about the leak. There is no process for the council to review that before the car is repaired. The council, we're not looking at cars. The shops are making the decisions about whether the vehicle is leaking or not. Does that answer the question?
I guess we'll find out if HQK Mass has a follow-up, but until then, we do not have any other raised hands or requests for comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you. We have done a newsletter article, I think at least one article on this, and we will, have we? Yeah. Okay. I'm getting a thumbs up on that. And I didn't want to, and we'll look at if it's appropriate, maybe finding time to do one in our next newsletter or one of the upcoming newsletters this year.
Would love that. Really appreciate that. Okay. Yeah. Appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
All right, our next, it's not a presentation, but a demonstration of the Enforcement Licensing Modernization Project that is also known as SimplyGov. That's the platform that we're using to conduct online licensure of automotive repair facilities and other licensees. We're going to demonstrate that program, online licensure process, today with Cole Gandelman, one of our newer managers at the Bureau of Automotive Repair in our licensing program, and Rebecca Guile, who is a subject matter expert and was intimately involved in the development of this process. And thank you and welcome to both of you.
Right on. Thank you, Pat. All right. So hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name is Cole Gandelman, and I'm the Business Licensing Manager. Today, I'm joined by one of the licensing team's most experienced analysts and a true subject matter expert for all things pertaining to the Enforcement Licensing Modernization Project, or ELM as we like to call it. Over the past year, we have spent countless hours making performance upgrades, streamlining our application process, and today we are excited to demonstrate our most current version of both our ARD and station applications. For our new BAG members, this will give you a detailed look at the application process from start to finish. After the initial ARD demonstration, Rebecca and I will be here to answer questions from the group. We'll also take a break for questions after the station application, so that way we can tie everything together. With that being said, I'm now going to pass the mic over to Rebecca.
All right, make sure is it on the green light? It seemed a little faint. Okay, maybe just bring it a little closer to you so we can all hear you loud and clear.
I'll try and project because I'm a little soft-spoken.
Yeah, it's good for those who are listening in via the WebEx and for the recording of the webcast. Thank you.
Thanks for having us here. As Cole said, we're going to do a demo on the ARD application. I wanted to say that all of our applications, ARD stations, the technician applications, as well as any of the change forms are now available online through our website. So this is where you'll locate them online. With that being said, the applications, we do start by clicking the link here. I have pre-started an application for us just to kind of save some time with the notifications going back and forth. So Without further ado, we'll jump into the ARD application. So the program will send the applicant an email to interact with at various stages. We have our ARD application starts with a 1, our state application starts with a 2. And this is an example of what the email will look like. Each of those emails that requires additional action by the applicant will have a blue link for them to complete the next stage. So with this one, we're going to go ahead and start our application. I clicked it a lot. Okay. So now we are in our application. This is the hardest test right there. You have to certify you want to do it. Our applications are all very user-friendly. The user can navigate through the application by going through the tabs at the top of the application or scrolling to the bottom of whatever page they're on. They can advance forward by using the next. If they were further in the application, they would have a back button to go back. And if they need to pause at any time during their application and maybe revisit it at a later time, they can save, close the application, and then return to it at a later time that's convenient for them through that email link. So this first tab of our ARD application is our information tab. It gives the applicant some general information about the ARD license. It also gives them a checklist of any information that may be required upon them, additional documents, gives them a chance to kind of see what we're going to be asking and gather those because they will have to digitally upload those. And once they've read this whole information tab, they can scroll to the bottom and select that they've read everything and move to the next tab. Our next tab is our business tab. This is where they're going to input their business information. So for today, we're going to be a demo ARD application. Primary business service type is required. The secondary is not. Anything in this application that is required. And as you can see, it's user friendly. So I missed a digit. It kind of gave me a red pop up like, hey, you forgot something, go back. Anything that is required is going to have a hard red asterisk on it. If it's not a requirement, they can just bypass it. Our business address is prompted by a Google lookup feature. So if the address is located, all the applicant has to do is start putting some information in, hit enter, and it should pre-populate the rest. It didn't. There it goes. We're a little lagged today, so sorry about that. If we have an alternate mailing address, we would just select the box at the bottom. The application does build out appropriately based on the selection. So as you can see, I have an alternate mailing address. It populated some additional information that I would have to input. For today, we're just gonna leave it off and move forward. Next tab is our ownership tab. For today's purposes, we're gonna apply as a corporation. And we're gonna input our corporation number. As you can see, we have a document that it's requesting us to upload. Federal employment identification number is not required. And then all of our questions are yes, no responses. Based upon our answer to any particular question, it could build the application out further. So with this change of ownership, if I select yes, it's asking me for an additional document that I would have to upload. If I said no, it would still move through without asking for additional information. Because we've selected that we are a corporation, it's going to ask for the titles and roles of the people appropriately. Corporation requires officers. So we're going to input some information for an officer. I'm going to declare my role as the president, secretary, treasurer of this corporation. But if I had just said that I was one of those roles, again, just an example, the application would build out and give me additional fields. Asking for my social. All of those identifying information it's collecting from us. So we've fulfilled everything on this tab. We're going to go ahead and move to the next tab, which is our administration tab. This tab is designed to collect any additional people that may be associated with this business. So we can tell it how many people up to 15 that we have, and it would build out appropriately. Today, I'm just going to select none. And then we get down to our responsible managing employee. Again, we have to input some information for this individual. The RME can be the same as any of the officers. So today we're just going to declare that I am that role as well. And we have all of our information in this, so we will go to the next tab. This is our background tab. It is built to get any information past or present regarding licensure history, as well as any criminal background related. Again, if you select yes to any of these questions, we may ask additional information. For the purpose of today, I'm just going to select no to all of these and move forward. And then we get to our military resettlement tab. It's the same story. If you select yes, you may be prompted for additional information based off of your response, yes or no. Or if it doesn't need additional information, you'll proceed forward. Designed to be pretty user-friendly here. EdCerts is the next tab. Sorry, I clicked that a little quickly. If we select yes, we'll have the ability to add up to 10 EdCerts here. Upload a copy of our certificate. And permits and licensure tab is our very next tab. Same thing. Based on our response, we may get additional fields for more information. And it gives me an error message that I did not put my email address in the correct form once I get to my review tab. So we will go back real quick. Probably have a typo in here. We have a comma instead of a dot. So anytime you encounter an error in the application, it kind of draws your attention to that area where you made the error, and will make you go back and correct it. It's really helpful in this online platform because it does decrease the amount of deficiencies that an application is submitted with, because by default, the program will direct you back to correct an error that you made in a previous part of this application. So again, I can navigate across the top or by the bottom. I already fixed that error back on the ownership tab, so I'm just going to grab where I last was at the top and kind of move forward. And we can see that that error that I typed has now been corrected. I don't have a red warning. So this is the individual that's going to be signing my application. And we'll go ahead and hit next. Brings us to a new tab, which is our payment tab. And it discloses that it's a $200 non-refundable application fee. So I'm going to select that I would like to pay that today. And we'll use the next button to navigate forward. And the final phase of, or the final step of this phase of our application is we will hit submit. What happens while that's loading is it's creating the application record. And once we get this online thank you here, it gives us an instruction that an email with the link to make my payment is going to be sent to me. So if I return to my email, we see that I received a link to complete my online payment. So we'll select that email and we'll select the link inside of it, and it will take me to the payment tab. And this is where we're going to do all of our billing information. So for today's purpose, I'm going to pay with a Visa. And then once I have all my information in here, I will hit the submit button at the bottom, just as I've been doing all along. The payment portion of this application is usually the one that takes a little bit longer because we're utilizing our vendor and there's a little bit of communication going back and forth. But much like with the previous sections, we are going to get an on-screen confirmation with next steps here momentarily. And this is our on-screen thank you. And it's telling us that our ARD application is now ready to be signed. So the expectation is if we go back to our email, we should have an email requesting our signature on our ARD application, which we do. So we'll use that link again. To go ahead and go into our signature. And the applicant has the ability to scroll up and down and review any of their responses previously, see any documents that they've uploaded. And if they're satisfied with this, they can go ahead and proceed to the bottom. Can you grab my laptop? And go ahead and sign the application. And then they get their online thank you for signing the application. At this point, because we have collected the application information, the payment, and the application has been signed, it is considered a fully submitted application. Shortly, the applicant will receive an emailed copy of the ARD application with the documents that they signed for their records. And it's now made it to the licensing staff for further review. So with that being said, that is the end of our ARD application for the moment. Does anybody have any questions regarding the ARD application?
I just wanted to say I misspoke earlier, I think during Clay's presentation. I didn't realize we were capturing educational certifications. So that's good. I thought that was being added. I think what's missing is we're collecting that data, but we're needing still or expecting to move that to our auto shop locator. And that was the piece that I neglected to. I think Clay mentioned
I
it,
think
but
you got it
partly,
yeah. With the new applications, we can collect the ed certs with brand new ARD applications. And then we are in the process of building out a workflow for any of those registered shops that would like to add additional certs that may already have their registration.
Cool. Very good. All right. Any other questions, comments from advisory group members? Jack?
Jack Miladonov, California Auto Body Association. Thank you. I do get questions. The ones I get or the calls I get is because they've had an issue. And I think it's primarily been on the LLCs, if I'm not mistaken. First question I have is, is there a way to get a copy of the application to preview so someone can look at the entire application before they go and start applying, because you can't get to the next page unless you fill everything out, right?
Correct.
So is there any way, like a preview of, hey, these are the questions they're going to ask, like the old application was online?
So our online application is a replica of our paper application. So we're not asking for any additional information in the online application than we were in the paper format. So they do have the ability to, if they have a copy of the paper application or can locate it on the BAR website, all of that information and questions that we asked on that paper app are in the online application.
So they can get on the website, they can access an actual application?
It's there. It's buried, but it's there.
I couldn't find it. That's why. I looked around because I got asked the question, can I look at the application? I was like, well, it used to be on there, but I don't see it anymore.
Yeah,
it is on there somewhere.
Contact information, Jack, if you'd like, I can forward you one.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. I just want the link so at least I can pass it along, because they'd like to see what kinds of questions. And I know the email covers some, but then there's questions about disciplinary action, if you've owned a previous ARD and that sort of thing. Okay. In terms of some of the questions, I know one of the questions has to do if you have a city business license, and sometimes they take a long time.
They do.
So can they complete this by saying pending and move forward?
Yes.
Okay. So that's not one of the requirements to get your ARD, correct?
No, and I think that there is some, it's taken into consideration that sometimes with the city and county license, it is contingent on the ARD license. So they have 3 selections for that particular question. They can say yes and disclose the actual permit number. They can say no. And the third option is they can say yes pending, which our assumption is it's in progress.
Do you still issue the license, or do you have to wait till they get the city business license before you issue the ARD registration number?
Yeah. As long as everything else in the application has been fulfilled, and that's the only thing that's pending, is that city or business license, we could, in theory, issue the license at that point.
Because I know some of the questions you need to have, like I think on a resale number, you've got to have that, correct? You can't say pending on that one.
That one pending is an option on that question as well.
Do you know offhand which ones are mandatory?
The ones that would be mandatory would be anything related to the change of ownership is mandatory. Anything regarding the criminal background is mandatory. Previous permits, not permits, but previous licenses, past or present, that one is required as well. But any of the actual permits, such as hazardous waste number, city business license number, the spray booth permit number, any of those have that third option of yes pending.
And then I guess my final question is, if someone gets on, they're having technical issues. Is there like a helpline so they can get someone live, or do they call and get a recording?
We are more than happy to help out with this process. All of our staff are fully trained to walk an individual through if they are encountering an issue. Of course, they're welcome to pick up the phone lines. Unfortunately, we are kind of in a time where our phone lines are incredibly inundated with people needing assistance. And so we do say that our bar licensing general inbox, barlicensing@dca.ca.gov, sometimes that can be a little bit of a quicker way to get a response back. If they choose to go that route to get in contact with us, we will respond within a business day or so.
And one final question is that I know when one gentleman or someone called me and they were having issues, and they're like, "Hey, is there an option to go back to the old school? And can I just fill out an application and mail in a check? Is that option or is that not?"
Option.
It is?
But I do have to say, even with those paper applications, we are migrating them onto this online platform. So when licensing does receive them, we will generally upload them. And it kind of for the specific reason of, like, if we're dealing with deficiencies, which I'll discuss here momentarily, this is a much more convenient, quicker way to get those resolved and keep the application moving forward in a quick manner without causing those delays by the post office and, drafting up letters and emailing things back and forth. This is just pretty much an interactive touch point where we can have that quick back and forth communication.
I agree. I'm just asking the question if it's optional. You get some people that are old school, like,
Yeah.
here's that old
Oh, yeah.
application that I can just fill out and I don't want to get online. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The online application certainly expedited our review of an application. So to the extent that someone's wants a quicker turnaround, I think that we would encourage the online. It just, you can imagine trying to read people's handwriting and things like that, and you have to go back and it just delays things. So this is a much more expedited process all around. Any other comments or questions or observations? I mean, there is some more of the presentation. We just want to take a break on at a midpoint on the ARD side of it. Anything else? Okay, we'll go ahead with the next half of it. Station applications.
Our station applications, they came online about late July. So of course we started primarily with our ARDs. But our stations came online about late July, so people now have the ability to apply for their stations online. Again, I've already started the application with the application request. So I did receive the email for my station license application to begin. And we'll go ahead and access that just like we did with our ARD through our emailed link. Looks a little familiar. Our station application, it doesn't take you right into that station application to start collecting information because the reason why somebody would apply for a station is they've got two situations. One is that they already have their ARD, or two is that they have applied for their ARD. So we got to kind of figure out what's prompting this station application, whether we're going to try and associate the new license to an existing one, or we have an ARD that we have to process first. So we've got this additional step built into our station licenses. So our first tab that we see is just, it's the request tab, which is a summary of the information when we submitted our request. So for today, I did want to apply for an RC station. I did not apply for vehicle safety. And it's just a summary of the information of who completed this application.
RC being a smoke check, test and repair station.
Yes, sorry. So if we hit next, it takes us to our next tab. And this is where we can declare that we either have an existing ARD and provide that information by selecting that, or that we have applied for our ARD license. So for today's scenario, I'm going to say that I have applied for my ARD. And I'm going to provide the information. And then we'll go ahead and submit here now that we've given that information. And we got our online thank you for this. So we're going to go ahead and return back to our email box where we will get the next notification here shortly. And we got our notification. So again, we'll go in and select that we're going to complete our application. So our first tab of this workflow is our request tab. It is the summary of what we're applying for today. And then we're going to move forward to our information tab. We're much like with our ARD application, we're giving the consumer some general information about smog stations and the application process. We're also going to provide them with the checklist of any additional documents that they may need to complete this application. Much like with the ARD application, they can navigate through by selecting the tabs across the top or advancing forward and backward. And if they start it and they don't have the ability to finish it all in one sitting, they can save, exit, and return to it at a later time. So I'm going to select that I have read all the information that has been provided, and we're going to move forward to the next tab. And just like with the ARD, we're going to have to put some information in. I'm selecting that I'm applying for a corporation today so that it mirrors my ARD application. So I have to upload my document again. We're going to collect some information for the primary principal associated with this business, just like we did with the ARD application. And we have all our information here, so I'm going to go ahead and select next to move forward with my application. And we're doing those background questions. So Jack, to your point, these are all yes or no responses. They don't have the ability with these background and license history questions for anything but a yes or no selection. And if we select yes or no, the appropriate answer, the application could build out accordingly. So for today, I'm going to select no for all of these. And we're going to go to the military resettlement tab, which is very in line with what we saw in the ARD application. So if we select yes or no, the application could build out according to our response. Smog Station is a little bit shorter than our ARD application, so now we are at the review tab. We're not collecting the additional information like you saw in the ARD application. So this is just a summary of who's going to be signing that application. And our last tab is that we are going to go ahead and submit this station application. So again, we see our online thank you. That's telling us an email with the link to make the payment is going to be sent to us. So if we return back to our inbox, we should see our payment email, which we do. And just like before, we'll go ahead and click the link in that email to take us to our next step. I'm going to certify that I would like to go ahead and pay the non-refundable application fee and start inputting some information here. So we did get our on-screen thank you, and it's telling us that our station application is now ready to be signed. So we will return to our email, and we've already gotten that email notification requesting us to sign our application. So just like with the ARD, we'll click that. And we see all the information that we previously filled out and told the program has been collected. And we'll go ahead and sign and submit this application. So now that we've received our on-screen thank you, we know that our application has been fully submitted to bar licensing. Again, they'll get a copy of the document that contains their signature for the application that they've submitted. So kind of next steps are, once licensing receives it, we'll go ahead and assign it to a processor for review. The way that we really attempted to try and minimize deficiencies when building this out. So hopefully there's minimal deficiencies, and if there are, we will notify the applicant, much like during this process, you saw those separate emails asking them to complete next steps. So they could potentially receive an email from us requesting additional information that will capture specifically what they were deficient for and ask them to return to a certain part of their application to correct or update. And they have the ability to resubmit it directly from the link in their email. And then it will bounce back to the license processor. Sometimes we have to go back and forth a couple different times to get that correct information, but it's pretty quick back and forth with them. And once the license processor is satisfied with the information contained in the application, they can take the appropriate next steps to hopefully move that application toward approval. We may collect an additional signature if there's modifications within the application, but we do have the ability to communicate that back and forth with our applicant in a pretty timely manner. So with that being said, I think that concludes my demonstration today.
Great job. Thank you very much. That went very smoothly. I know we were all kind of crossing our fingers here, but you never know when you're outside of your own facility in another building how things might go. But thank you very much. Great job. Questions, comments, additional beyond what's already been asked? Yes.
Yeah, Anthony Bento, California New Car Dealers. I just want to thank you and everyone at BAR for your hard work on this. I know how difficult, or I suspect, in working with, we've spent a lot of time working with the Department of Motor Vehicles with their licensing program, and I know how much work a lot of this involves on the back end. So it's a testament to you and your organization, the transparency, walking us through this process, but also kind of guiding the industry publicly through it. It's greatly appreciated. And it's also very nice to not have dealers calling us freaking out because and trying to navigate this process because of how well thought out it is. So again, thank you to everyone on your team.
Thank you for those comments. Oh, yes, Matt.
This question doesn't necessarily relate to the technology, but I noticed on the data here, the statistics, there was like 400 licenses renewal applications that weren't approved. Why would that be? Is that something they were like deficient in some of the information or something?
So I'm sorry.
Sorry, on the licensing statistics, I know it's nothing to do with the technology that you guys are working on, but maybe you guys don't know the answer to this. I noticed it seemed like there was a large number of applications that were denied.
Applications or renewals?
Or renewals, yeah, and applications both. Initial applications also.
So with the renewals, there's various factors that can come into play, such as cost owed could prevent them from renewing in a timely manner. Sometimes those family support issues, we would have a hold on the license preventing us from being able to renew it. They're all things that can be resolved. And so we would just encourage anybody that you would come into contact to contact us, and we can further explain that to them and support them through that process.
One other question. So the platform that this is built on, is it pretty flexible? Like if you guys want to change stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Very flexible. And we have a great support of our vendor. Things can be added, removed, modified as regulation changes. It's pretty user friendly to let us modify it.
Nice.
Moderator, questions from advisory group members or comments from them?
And I do not see any raised hands from our WebEx advisory group members.
Okay, I'm going to open it up for public comment here in the room. Michael? You can't do that if you work for a bar. Yes, you're part of the public too, I guess. No, there's probably an explanation to something that's already come up. Thank you. Michael Villarreal with the licensing program.
So I just want to first thank Cole and Rebecca for doing, but I strongly want to encourage industry to give the online form and applications a chance because it's an improvement over the paper application. We found a lot of deficiencies. We found a lot of delays, whether they be U.S. Postal Service, whether they be cash processing and inter-office transfer to our office as far as application processing. And we have a paper application. It is not the same as what's online. It has the same components, but the flow and the detail is substantially different. And I'll just give you a real quick example. It's not uncommon that one of the biggest pain points is the ownership structure and LLCs, as you spoke of. Some people have applied and they just put LLC after their business name and they think that's all there is to an LLC. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It is an organizational structure that they have to file with the Secretary of State, and there's components specific to the LLC that we need in the application process. We walk you through that in the online form. We have informational bullets on the paper form, but the flow is much cleaner online. So to the degree that the industry is willing to work through change and modernization, I strongly encourage that. Okay. But that was it.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh. Bar is now in the public comment part of this discussion. No,
Michael and I are not advisory group members, so.
Go ahead. Bill Thomas.
How convenient is it to demonstrate or show where the page is to update corporate information or change address or something like that to submit a change request? Can you do that really quick?
That's a good question.
Not accessed it in several weeks. So let me see if I can find it here real quick. But the quickest way to do it, for me personally, that I found to navigate, because things kind of hide and I have trouble recalling them, is I'll just start typing what it is that I want to do as a search feature.
Change of corporate officer.
And we should be able to update our business license right there.
Perfect. I raised that issue and for the advisory group members, both here and on the WebEx, especially you, Anthony. We have long established dealerships, 30, 40, 50 years, that still have the original corporate officers in there. And I would assume they've retired and moved on. It's important that they update that information whenever it changes, if there's new officers elected, just like any other change of address or anything like that, that information is required by statute to be updated with the Bureau. So I would appreciate it if all the advisory group members could get that message out.
And I'm happy to act as a conduit for that information conduit to our members for that information, raise awareness of the need to do that. Totally understand why that would be necessary. If you're seeing data that hasn't been updated in 40 years, it's probably not the most current. So let's talk offline because I would love to coordinate on a bulletin article or something else to just raise awareness of it to our members. And we can mention it too at appropriate seminars that we conduct.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll do the same in our newsletter if we haven't already. So good. Thank you. Yeah. Good stuff. Anything else? Oh, no, I'm going, my head's spinning here. Jack.
Well, he raised the question and then you went, because I think it's a good one and I appreciate it. Updating corporation is one page, pretty easy when you update officers. When you try to update, I guess, the LLC, I know there isn't a form for that. Is that when when someone is changing the limit, the member, there isn't a form for that. They technically would have to file a whole new application, or am I incorrect on that?
So LLCs can be
Tricky.
They can be, and they're, specifically related to the LLCs, they do require some additional review because the original operating agreement that was submitted to BAR does have to encompass a clause for us to add or remove the members on it. The online change form is a start, okay? Because they can select that they're an LLC, tell us what they're wanting to change with those members, and we'll have to do some validation and cross-check with what we already have on record. It's still a very much manually reviewed process. It's not automated, but they would have the ability to request to change their members via this online workflow.
So this one page to update, there is a section for LLCs?
There is, because when you go into the controlling individuals, they would have to tell us the structure type that they are, and they would have the ability to add or remove.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is because I know someone tried to do that and they were pretty much required to go through the entire process. And because it was an LLC and it wasn't like a corporation just adding an officer or so forth. That's easy, but it was much more complicated.
Yeah, if they have a situation like that, again, we'd highly recommend them to get in contact with us. Potentially, they were instructed to reapply because there wasn't that clause built into their operating agreement without actually knowing their specific circumstances. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to respond to that.
And Michael has joined us again.
So LLCs are very common.
Yes.
Okay, and as Rebecca answered, if the original operating agreement allows for the change of member, usually that's a clause within the operating agreement, but it also means that when they change it, the Secretary of State does not reissue a number associated with that business entity. However, if that's not the case and that SOS number changes, they have to reapply. It's like any structure change, a private sole proprietorship that suddenly wants the protections of a corporation or a LLC, they have to reapply. It is a different organizational structure. Okay. And that happens a lot with the LLCs because they don't have that provision within the original
The agreement.
Yeah. Has the foresight to say that members may change.
Well, most of the ARDs don't, they have an attorney or someone do it, so they don't have a clue, right? They just think, hey, I'm just changing an member. It shouldn't be a big deal, right? And then they've got in the process, I'm assuming that they couldn't do it in the LLC or it wasn't allowed, and that's why they had to reapply.
Right.
And without knowing the specifics of that circumstance, don't know if the number changed, don't know if the original operating agreement had that provision.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
It's a really important point for clarification. I'd like to think about addressing that and educating our licensee population about that. Additional comments, public comments on the WebEx?
And this is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the presentation demonstration, you can raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon. And our first request is from BAC. Again, I'm going to send you the request to unmute your microphone. You're unmuted. You can go ahead.
Great, thank you. Nice job, Rebecca, on your presentation. Nice flow. This is Bruce Cosby with Advanced Automotive Training again. I have two questions, Rebecca. Number one, I know we're talking about ARDs here, but I get questions all the time in the classroom from my newly minted students who are looking, they always ask me whether or not they can fill out their application online or whether they do the paper format. And I know that Janelle had sent out a message stating that the old form is no longer valid and to use the new form. I'm assuming that came from your office. So my question is, can students that are finishing up and applying for either smog check inspector well, smog check inspector, let's stay with that one. Can they do the online? Do you want them to do the online, or do they do the paper, the new form?
We would much rather prefer anybody and everybody apply online. The technician applications, EI, EO, safety technician, they're all available online. And so we would highly encourage them to apply online.
Okay, great. I will push that forward in the class. And then the second question is, I get occasionally from my test and repair techs that are doing a change of address. Does BAR require a shutdown of the shop momentarily? I know there used to be sometimes a 2-week, I don't know, transitional period. It used to be that way. I don't know if it is now. Can you comment on a change of address? If an ARD, they're going to keep the same name, same company, same members, but they're changing to a new location. Do they have to go through a shutdown period for that?
So if you have an ARD and they do have a station, that analyzer is moving. So anytime that there is a change of address and the analyzer moves, it will prompt a new station inspection, and they will encounter a brief period of time where they will be offline waiting for that inspection.
And do you know what that, when you say brief offline, can you give me a general ballpark? Because they're going to ask me. I get the question all the time.
We do try and minimize the impact to the business. There can be scheduling issues with field, and they'll contact that business owner. Unfortunately, the delay and between scheduling and getting them out there, that's not really something that I'm comfortable speaking to. But I can say that I know just from what I've heard, they do try and minimize that to as brief of a period as possible.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm finished.
Thank you. And I do not see any other requests for comment. Shall I close that public comment feature?
Yes, please. Thank you, moderator. And then we have, Matthew, did you have another comment?
Just a quick comment. And someone called me actually like a month ago, and they say, hey, how do I get we always share the, you guys will be happy to know, we share the BAR newsletter for our members, and everybody always looks forward to reading that, of course.
Good.
And someone was asking, and I thought it'd be cool, you could, on the renewal application, just maybe have a box on there like, hey, we'd like to, so you can, I don't know who gets I guess I assume you have to sign up on the list now to get the newsletter. Yeah, so you're not automatically, your email's not automatically entered when you register. So that'd be another field you could add in there in the future to the renewals and for initial applications. Just.
Yep, thank you. This was a huge project. I can't underscore that enough. And the amount of staff that it took, resources at the Bureau to pull this off, taking away from their normal activities, to do this and dedicate their time to this was really critical to being able to deliver this quality product, and did it on time and on budget. Okay. We have, projects like this, you just don't do in a vacuum. It's very involved with control agencies, Department of Technology, our own department and agency, very much on top of things, reviewing our own IT shop at the department, making sure we're meeting deadlines and staying on budget. And we did. I mean, that's really, really kind of unheard of. And it's tough to do because there are a lot of unforeseen, what someone said earlier today, use the, I can't remember the, just unforeseen developments in a project of this size and magnitude. And we did it. And everyone at the Bureau who participated in this should be very proud. And my hat's off to the entire licensing team. And I know it was not just the licensing team, there were folks in the enforcement division as well. But really, really proud of everything that the teams did to pull this off. Cole, Rebecca, great job. Thank you. All right, we're going to combine agenda items 9 and 10. There are two handouts. Was there any comments besides the one that Mr. Webb already brought up with respect to the licensing statistics, but enforcement statistics and the licensing statistics update? Anything? Let's open it up. Oh, yeah.
More a question than anything else. Is it possible to include citation statistics in this report? Maybe year over year by month, or some way to track any increase, decrease, and perhaps the categories that the citations are being issued for.
That's a good one. Great question. I think that's an easy yes for us. Yeah. And we'll open it up for public comment on agenda items 9 and 10. Anyone in the room? No. Anyone, moderator, on the WebEx for enforcement statistics and licensing statistics, the two reports that were handouts?
Okay, for our bar members, any comments on the two reports? I do not see any comments or raised hands from bar members.
Or public comment.
Okay. Anyone from the public who'd like to make a comment on the materials for the enforcement and licensing statistics? Any comments at all? I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, agenda item number 11, public comment on items not on the agenda. Anything that wasn't discussed today that anyone would like to bring up today? Mr. Kusa has one.
So thank you, Pat. So it's a little self-serving. So my daughter had an emission recall 2.5 years ago for a component that just became available a week ago.
Oh, wow.
And so first time, she's in her vehicle needs to be smogged, right? So first time she got the one-time pass, still can't get the part, can't get the car registered. She's fretting the next time around. This may before Clay may, I know we're not commenting now, but your interaction with DMV, perhaps there's a way to mitigate this. I mean, this was like 1 million vehicles, and they were making, each dealership got one catalytic converter a week throughout the state, right? So there's, potentially 1 million people that can't get their car registered, therefore, not legally operate on the road. So if there's a way to, help DMV understand or work with DMV to say, yeah, we and the vehicle manufacturer, that part's not available, we'll get you registered, right? And understanding that, that's not the vehicle owner's fault that they're suffering with this. I mean, she considered selling the car, right? When I told her you really can't because it's an emission recall. So anyway, that's my comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good comment. Any other public comments for items not on the agenda? Moderator, could you ask the WebEx attendees?
Certainly. If anyone would like to make a comment to suggest an item that was not on the agenda, you can raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon. And we do have two requests. The first is from BAC. Again, we will go ahead and send you a request to unmute. Go ahead.
Thanks. This question, I believe, this is Bruce again with Advanced Automotive Training. So just a couple of points of clarification. These are questions that come up in class. There's rumors and things that are passed along, and I like to squash those kinds of things, especially when they're not true. So this question possibly, I think, might be for Clay if he's still present. I don't know if he's still in the room. Is he?
He's here.
Okay, great. So Clay, I got a question. Oftentimes comes up in the classroom, and that is people that have a test only, or students, new guys or new people coming in that want to open up a test only shop, also ask if they can simultaneously have a tire shop running alongside of it, to which I have been responding with no, primarily because I believe my understanding is tire shops come under a repair scenario. Am I correct in my response to them, Clay?
Well, I will happily defer this question to our Chief of Enforcement, Bill Thomas. I guess to me, having a little bit of knowledge about this, I guess my first answer would be, I guess it depends on what you mean by alongside. A test-only business, I don't think can provide repairs as well. So I'm not sure what you mean by alongside or how we would kind of determine
In the same
what that
building.
means.
In the same building. These guys are applying for their, you know, they're going through training, they're getting their license, they want to own a shop, test only. And a lot of them, and I get this a lot, they want to also do tire, you know, replacement and that kind of stuff. Not brake, steering, and suspension, but just have a tire shop where they can sell tires. And I even had one guy went as far
License.
before he went into training, went ahead and bought all the equipment, just to find out that he couldn't have a tire shop in the same building as the test only. Am I correct, Deputy Chief?
Yes, you are correct. They cannot, the statutes are very clear that a test-only station cannot perform repairs of any type. Many years ago, tire facilities were brought into the requirement to an ARD to have an ARD once the minor services exemption was lifted, and actually long before that, once TPMS became a thing. So they can't have and the regulations, and I'm going to paraphrase, and hopefully I'm pretty close, but a owner of a test-only facility cannot have an ownership interest in an ARD within the same plaza, strip mall, or close geographic location, but.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 50, I think 50 statute miles, I believe, is what's in laws and regs, and that's what I put out in the class.
Yeah, I think that might have changed. That might have been the old regs, but I'm not 100% sure. So.
Well, it's in the 2019 laws and regs book, I believe, but I could be wrong. So if it's not statute, 50-mile statute anymore, you know, what is it then? If a guy has a test only and he wants to also do a test and repair, I know I've heard now at least a half a dozen times over the last few years, guys would come in and say, well, the bar rep told me that as long as there's a wall between the test only side and the tested repair side, that I'd be good. I said, I don't think that's right.
No, that's not correct at all.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
And really, there's no need for, with the STAR program applying to both test onlys and test and repair, there's the incentive to only have a test only. If they want to do repairs, the Bureau certainly encourages them to become a test and repair and do diagnosis and repair of failures.
That's what I tell them. Okay. All right. Just needed to get point of clarification. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you.
And our next comment is from Len. And Len, I'm going to send you a request to unmute your microphone. All right, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for your time, everybody. I appreciate it. I'm a consumer, retired auto mechanic. I don't want to go on record and thank one of your employees, Jose Gutierrez.
Your voice got very quiet, Len. It's hard to hear you.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Is that better?
A little. Can you go louder?
Okay. How about that? Is that any better? Is that any better? Test.
Yeah, that's better.
Sorry. Okay, good. I'm a consumer and a retired auto mechanic. I want to go on record and thank Jose Gutierrez, one of the BAR employees. I had an issue with the shop. He stepped in, provided 100% help for me. I couldn't have gotten where I did without his help. So if anybody knows him, tell him again, and his supervisor, thank you for all your hard work. Next thing, as an owner of a classic CJ Jeep, CJ7, sure would be nice to get those things exempt from biannual smog checks. And that's it. Again, thank you for all your work. I know it's a thankless job at times. Have a good day.
Thank you, Lynn.
All right. And I do not see any other requests for comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Next agenda item is the announcement of our next advisory group meeting, which will take place on Thursday, April 24th, 2025. Our in-person will be here in this room unless otherwise noticed. So don't take my word for it, because sometimes we get bumped out of the room for other priority meetings from the department and its constituent boards and bureaus. So, but we'll try to keep this room for the next meeting. And again, for the same time frame, 9:30 to 1 p.m. That is it. I think we are going to, well, just one last announcement. The workshop will take place again in this same room. The storage fees charged by automotive repair dealers workshop on the regulations that we are developing will be an in-person and virtual meeting. And hopefully we can wrap up the comments and move forward with the finalization of that package so that we can get the internal review completed and submitted the package to the Office of Administrative Law. All right, we are just 1 minute past our scheduled time, 1:01 p.m. We will adjourn. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Pat. You know why we were made.
And this is the moderator for our WebEx users. You can stay on the line with this and stay muted until 2 o'clock when the workshop starts, or you can use that same link to log back in at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much.